Woodward, we are starting off your day with a brand new crew. Meet Broder.
I can't control my arms sometimes. My limbs are just kind of flying.
Detroit Kool-Aid.
Fired up!
Y'all got Kool-Aid.
I'm fired up! But with the Wake Up Woodward crew, he's actually a part of the family.
Flannel Sam.
Ask me about my wiener. Okay.
Along with JB and KG. Wake Up Woodward gets you all of your Detroit sports talk. Every morning, 8 to 10 a.m. Live on Woodward Sports. A show for Detroit, by Detroit, with people from Detroit. Tell Siri to set an alarm, because it's time to Wake Up Woodward.
Hey, what up, though, people? Welcome to Woodward Sports' 2024 NBA Draft coverage, man. And I'm happy to be here with kind of a mix of Woodward Sports personalities, social team, support team, everything. It's going to be a pretty cool night. We're going to definitely recap the season, kind of give you this off-season kickoff starting with the NBA Draft, give a little bit of a free agent outlook as well, get some opinions around the room. And I know Broder has prepared some questions for us as well that we will bring up during our table talk segment. I had to bring back the Chauncey Billups jersey. It's our third year in a row doing these draft shows. I've worn this jersey on each and every one, so I had to definitely bring it out for some mojo. What mojo is that? We don't quite know.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
That's a fair point. Maybe some traditions, need to be switched and altered, but
Yeah.
you know what?
But
I want it.
hey, but you know what? Let's go around the room. We'll introduce everybody, and we will jump into the topics that we got tonight. We got Matt Broder, our credentialed Tigers and Lions reporter and writer for Woodward Sports. What up, though, Matt?
What up, though? Dude,
Hey.
I'm so pumped for tonight, Kool-Aid. It's going to be a big night for the Pistons. I hope there's a lot of trades all over the draft board so you can see some reactions up here with the crew here at Woodward. Let's go.
Hey, let's go. Shout out to that dude, Justin, in the TD booth. What up, though, brother?
How's it going? Hey, bring Jeremy Grant home. Let's go.
Let's go. And I know we got Travis, we got Kyle in the building. You guys will be seeing them a little bit later as well. We got JB, we got KG. Spinny was here. We got Easy. Hey, here go Black Hollywood, man. He's just casually late. That's all.
Sit your ass in the
Here
chair.
that go. KG, JB, Easy. And up here on the desk, we got the vet of our Wake Up Woodward squad, man. And really just Woodward Sports in general. That is Flannel Sam.
You know what I love about these shows? Is that, for example, you know how long it's been since I've done a show with Mr. Chris Platty over here? Back when I used to just sit on the chair casually during the heavyweight shows, that's how long that it's been, you know? Easy, I never really see anymore. He's in the building right now. I met their intern, Caleb, for the first time. That's why I like shows like this. Just a lot of camaraderie amongst the boys. There's nothing quite like it. And hey, Joel's just walked in. Joel's in the house.
We're squad
Put
deep.
in NBA draft, man. What up, though? You know what? Chris Platty, man. Hey, we've been trying to make this work for a few years. I'm glad to see you up here on the desk, man. How you feeling tonight?
I mean, look, I'm glad to be here. Don't get me wrong, but man, it felt like this year. I don't know if you felt this way. It felt like you really had to force yourself to do the homework on these guys.
Oh my gosh.
Like, just you'd love for it to be a star-studded draft. You'd love for the Pistons to have the number one pick, which they should have by record. But of course, here we are. But you know what? It's going to be fun because there's a lot more you can do with the pick than just draft a player. So that's what we're here for.
Hey, let's rock, man. We got KG, we got Easy in their seats. We got really like our star-studded cast behind them as well.
I just met Kyle. This guy's wearing a Celtics
Travis,
jersey.
Joel. Hey,
We're on the wrong type of time.
I know what he's doing over here.
Oh my God. Why is he wearing a Celtics jersey?
Let's go. Dog, let's go. But hey, you know what? Let's get into this big board before we get into the season recap. We got our top 10, kind of my top 10. I want to know what you guys' thoughts are and what you think the Pistons should do at number 5. But let's kick things off. JB, you got that big board still in the system?
Yep. Let me find it.
All right, cool.
Oops.
Because at number 1, we got Alexander Sarr. I am going to start with number 10 as we kind of work our way up the top 10. But Alexander Sarr, the interesting thing about him is the fact that he refused to work out for the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks owner came out as well and talked about the fact that, you know what, yeah, we tried to schedule him for a workout. He didn't necessarily want to be here. And that was kind of the end of that. So now the news is that Zachary Resage, who's number 2 on my big board, actually might go number 1 to the Atlanta Hawks. But what do you guys think about that as JB's getting his board up?
Go ahead.
I don't think, man, in a draft like this, I don't think you have that luxury. You should have that luxury of calling your shots. Like when they're calling this the weakest draft, I don't know if that's the time for you to flex your muscles, dog. Like,
yeah.
I think you need to just play the game, especially because you know what, you're helping your case. Like you would want to go number 1. Not only is it more money, it's obviously the prestige factor of going number 1. And NBA number 2 overall picks. I don't know if you guys have done the history recently, but number 2 overall picks do not work out too well.
Some bad mojo there?
Yeah, hey. Some bad mojo, some Michael Beasley, there's just a lot of players that just, they were looked at as the guy or almost a guy and weren't that. So I just think if you're Alexander Sarr, you show up, you ball out for whoever, and if it's Atlanta, cool. If they trade that pick, cool. Like I don't get why you would be trying to control your destiny if you're Alexander Sarr, especially in a weak class. I think it just looks a little weird.
Yeah, James Wiseman, another number 2 overall pick, notably that wasn't very.
Bagley.
Yeah, Bagley. Hey, Detroit Pistons. You guys know those guys, right? Right? You probably wish you didn't. But anywho, no. Honestly, though, this is one of those years where, and I know we don't know what the Atlanta Hawks are going to do in the offseason, with like Murray and Trae Young and all of that. But if you're Alex Sarr, you might actually have a chance to go, well, obviously not anymore, but the number 1 overall pick might actually go to a situation where you can actually win something right away, like maybe make the playoffs. And that's kind of rare for a number 1 overall pick. I mean, even a guy like LeBron or Victor Wembanyama, they didn't win anything in their first years because they went to dog shit teams. In the case of the Hawks, it might not be. So I don't know. I don't like it.
It's an interesting thing, when you kind of juxtapose Alexander Sarr and what he's doing as the number 1 overall prospect by all measures and counts versus Cade Cunningham. The year that he was entering the NBA, and even when he found out that Detroit secured that number 1 draft pick, he was saying he had a desire to be number 1 overall. And that, to me, it means something. No matter where it is. Think about it. He could have said, who wouldn't want to be in Houston? But Detroit had number 1, and it's just kind of that mindset. I wonder what that does for other teams that are looking at Alexander Sarr. Is there anything that could hurt him in that?
Yeah, I think it speaks to kind of what you're talking about, adversity. Like all of these NBA players, you are against the top tier athletes of your sport. So you are going to face adversity at some point in your career, whether you're the first pick or the last pick or not picked at all. You are going to face adversity in your career. And so I think it says something that your very first NBA challenge, you're in a sense, you're ducking or trying to manipulate. I think I want the guys like Cade Cunningham that show up and say, you know what, I don't care what franchise drafts number 1 overall. That's where I want to be because I know the weight of a number 1 overall pick, and I want to be the best in this class. I don't want to just go to whatever city I want to go to, and I don't want to speculate on Sarr why he's potentially manipulating his draft stock, but I just think players are dealt adversity, and I think you need to be ready to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's very well said. Kind of just running through this top 10. Starting with number 10, I got Ron Holland of the G League Ignite. Number 9, Rob Dillingham of Kentucky. Number 8, Stephen Castle. Number 7, Cody Williams. Number 6, Donovan Clingan. Number 5, Dalton Connect. This is a guy that I've absolutely fallen in love with as a potential pick for the Pistons. Number 4, Reed Shepard. Number 3, Matas Buzelis. Number 2, Zachary Reese-Hache. And number 1, the guy we were just talking about, Alexander Sarr. Who are some guys on this big board that you guys think need to be higher, or somebody that you believe the Pistons need to be able to consider? And I wanna kind of start with KG and Easy, man. KG, what up, though, brother?
Yeah, why isn't Dalton Connect a little higher? I know you're higher on him, so why isn't he higher on your big board?
Yeah, because of the potential thing. Any of these other players that are ahead of him, it's either because they have elite traits that are more elite. So Reed Shepard, even though Dalton Connect, he got a strap, man, from behind the arc. Reed Shepard is just absolutely elite from behind the arc. So that's why I had him ranked a little bit higher. He does some of the same things, just a little bit shorter than Dalton Connect. When you're looking at Alexander Sarr, when you're looking at Amadas Buzelis, when you're looking at Zachary Reese-Hache, these are guys who present a higher potential ceiling. Even though I believe Dalton Connect can step in right now and help the Pistons in ways similar that we saw Sadiq Bey help them right away, I do believe that his ceiling is going to be much lower than some of these other players. Definitely.
I like Tyjon Saloon as well too.
Hey, talk about him, man, because I didn't want to just jump into the bandwagon. I have to admit, I'm not as knowledgeable about it, but I've heard the heavies kind of talking about him.
Yeah, I think he's ready to go. He's got that 7'2" wingspan. I think he's just as much an athlete as Montez Brazez, and in my opinion, he shoots a better three. I know we spoke about it with Chris on our show. He doesn't like his feel for the game, but in my personal opinion, I mean, what sounds easier to coach to you? What sounds easier to learn? That 3-point shot or a feel for the game once it becomes like a profession and you work with the best coaches, you're playing against the best players. I feel like that feel for the game is easier to develop than kind of hoping on a shot for some people because we just know sometimes it don't come. Everybody wants to shoot like Steph Curry. Everybody probably puts in the work to shoot like Steph Curry, but some people got, some people don't.
To me, I just think that when you come from overseas, and that's a big gripe about NBA basketball today, right, is that these players are not coming in fundamentally sound. They are coming in as elite specialists in certain areas with many holes in their game. And it's a big problem that American basketball wants to address. And I think that overseas does that very well. European basketball does that very well, bringing these well-rounded prospects. And I think that when you look at him and he lacks that foundation, in my opinion, he lacks that foundation, and that to me is a sign that you've been in a situation where you were focused on developing that, and you haven't developed that. So I can't project that a player that has the body frame that everybody loves as an NBA player, but hasn't put it together yet on that level. He's just got so many things to put together, I think, to become a high-level player. Now, if you're telling me, can he become a bench player? Sure. Can he become a role player? Sure. I don't even see starter as his ceiling because I think he's just got too many flaws to put together. I think when you look at NBA players, a lot of times you can fall in love with if he's just better at this, if he's just better at that. But some people can only get better at so many things. Really, one of the only examples of somebody that was raw, super raw in the last 10, 15 years in the NBA, put it all together, was Giannis. Giannis had really no foundation, and yet he was able to put it. And I'm not banking on a Giannis chance. Like I'm not if I'm Detroit. Not when I think I have players that can contribute right now to Cade Cunningham and to this team. I think you need to put good players in positions so that you can evaluate the current core that you have. Because I think that's a big issue too. Is everybody's opinion in this room is different on every single Piston prospect we have, and I think that shows that. You can't necessarily gamble for potential right now. I think you need to get fit. I think you need to get NBA locker room ready guys that can come contribute, and then you can see what you got in Ivy, what you got in Cade, Asar, Stu, Duran, whichever one of those guys you want to keep.
What up, though, Flannel? I see your face on there, man.
Oh, no. Everything's fine. Just had to clap back in the chat really quick. Thank you for watching, Jonathan Lord. If you want to turn it off when I'm on, it's all well and good, but be sure to turn it back on when everybody else is talking. But anywho, yeah, you mentioned over like players who come in kind of raw. And you mentioned Giannis Antetokounmpo. With Giannis though, he has physical advantages that are like once in a lifetime because he still isn't the most skilled player, but when he gets it down low, he's as dominant of a post presence as we've seen since prime Shaq, in my opinion. He's absolutely unstoppable, but even in certain half court situations to end games, he struggles from time to time. So I would agree that I always would go more with a fundamentally sound player with skill sets as opposed to an athlete who's kind of raw. That's usually my philosophy, and that really hasn't changed for this draft.
Yep. And you know what? I want to be able to get into the season recap, a little bit of what's been going on in the front office as well, kind of go around and get people's opinions on this, the offseason outlook, and then I want to get into these questions that Broder has prepared for us as well. But the Detroit Pistons, man, the season recap, and it is a sad one. It was crazy about a third of the way through the season when you realize I really don't want to break down game by game by game out there on the beat. It was interesting to be out there and hear other people's kind of comments and things because it felt like this season was a broken record. The way that they were losing games, the things that they were saying in the press conferences, the most authentic thing that I kind of saw this year was when Cade Cunningham just snapped and said, yo, we're a bad team. Beyond that, maybe Preacher Man Jay and Ivy. Beyond that, everything else was kind of just this redundancy, man. You got Monty Williams going up there every game and saying, yeah, that's on me. I got to be better. That's on me. I got to be better. You got Jade and Ivy not even playing to start the season. And what did it culminate? They started off 2-1. And they looked like the team that a lot of us believed that they could be that season. And then the wheels absolutely fell off to the tune of 28 straight losses, setting a record in the NBA. Setting also by the end of the season with a complete record of 14-68, the worst record in franchise history. That is this year's Detroit Pistons, 2023-2024 Detroit Pistons, and it led to a bevy of sweeping changes. But before we get to some of those changes, I just wanted to be able to ask you guys a few questions about this season. One, I'll start here. Were there any positives for any of you guys, man? Any of you guys? And I guess, Platty, you can kick it off.
I got a lot of confirmation that Cade Cunningham is a damn good basketball player. And I look at the adversity that he was dealt with, whether it be roster construction, injuries, all of that, and he put together a fantastic second half stretch of the season, especially post All-Star break, especially from beyond the three-point line. So I think when you look at Cade Cunningham, it gives you confidence that, again, you and I have spoke about this. This rebuild maybe is a long thing. It looks really bad because we have a lot of holes to fill. The Pistons have a lot of holes to fill. But the one bright spot is that a player like Cade Cunningham that can become as good as Cade Cunningham, that has that kind of ceiling, is a player that can immediately expedite a rebuild. You look at young teams, you look at Orlando, you look at all these other teams, look at them succeeding with young players being their best players. They just need decent enough pieces. The problem is not the perfect fit. We're not asking for the perfect fit. You need decent enough, and the Pistons have failed at that and failed miserably. So to me, that was my big takeaway. And I'm tell you what, maybe I'm the last on the boat, but Asar Thompson, man, like I just truly believe that's a guy that's going to put it all together. And maybe he's never a knockdown 3-point shooter. But I see a guy that processes the game well, that has elite athleticism, that is one of already the best 3-wing defenders in the NBA. I think you put him in a situation with better teammates around him, and he gets amplified. I think he's a guy that does everything additive. I think a wing that can get 14 rebounds in a game is something that cannot be overlooked. You can have so much different roster construction to him. Everyone focuses on the 3, but focus on the fact that he can protect the rim, that he can do all these other things that people or players in his position can't do, at least at his level.
We got a little bit of breaking news. Ooh. You saw it as well?
Yeah,
you can break the news. Go ahead, bro.
Absolutely not. You're going to break the news. You are a Pistons beat.
You know what? Nick Claxton. This was a guy that actually the Pistons had some rumors. They were linked to a little bit, some interest. He just signed a 4-year, $100 million deal. He got that $25 million a year to return to the Brooklyn Nets.
Why?
Who felt like they were selling everything.
Everything.
Yeah. It felt like
he was going to be part of that too.
Oh, man.
I
really wanted him to be a Detroit Piston.
First OG, not Claxton.
Goodness.
Yeah. I mean, look, Spencer said on the heavyweights, I think that's a good point. I think that the Detroit Pistons have cap space, yes, but I don't think there's a lot of players that are particularly interested in coming to the Pistons. I think they're looking at the Pistons as a team to create leverage with their own team or with another situation. So I like Claxton. I was warming up to the idea of him, but I ultimately I'm not too bummed about this. To me, this just shows you got to trade for players. You got to trade for players under multiple years. You got to build a culture here. I think that's the key. And in order to do that, you need to get players that are here. And if no free agents want to come, then you got to get them through trade. So.
Yeah, definitely. Teams that are up against the apron, disgruntled teams, disgruntled players. The Pistons have found ways to take advantage of that in the past. They just have to do better with what returns they get, because the previous players have all been hobbled. And that's been, like you said, what's kind of capped this rebuild for the Detroit Pistons. But, Flannel, I'm interested. Was there any positive for you as it relates to this Detroit Pistons season?
I'm going to kind of piggyback off of Chris, but I'm going to be a little bit more specific. I'm going to go with Cade Cunningham's three-point shooting, because at the beginning of his career, when he obviously wasn't fully healthy, he was a bad three-point shooter. But this season, on 5.5 attempts per game, he shot 36%. while also leading the team in scoring and assists. I think that's absolutely huge, and I think it's only going to get better from there because he also showed that he could shoot at Oklahoma State as well. Cade Cunningham's three-point shooting impressed the hell out of me, and it showed that he was willing to work on an aspect of his game that was lacking while also being healthy. Combined with rehab and working on his game, shout out Cade Cunningham for improving that three-point percentage.
Hey, shout out to Cade. And you know what? Now that we got kind of everybody in the room, let's definitely shout out the rest of the crew as well. We got that dude, Justin, in the building. I know you guys saw him in the TD booth in the beginning. That means that we also got to shout out JB Smooth as well. What up, though, JB?
Hey, what's up? What's going on? I'm a little disappointed right now as it is, considering it's just news of Nick Claxton is now gone. Because all thoughts were him going to Detroit, but I guess we're all just wrong on this right now. So draft's not starting off great for me. I'm sorry.
Not at all. Hey, and shout out to two important members of our social team. Two of our social leads, that is Trav. That's what I like to call him. And we got Kyle in the building as well. Shout out to you all, man. Kyle, you got... I don't understand the Celtics jersey.
Yeah,
man.
I don't know about that, man.
What's going on with that Celtics jersey? Here, man. Hey, bro, you got to talk to the mic.
No, the other Celtics jersey.
Huh?
He's saying going for 19.
Oh my gosh.
Hey,
No.
that's
That's it, man.
How old are you?
22.
How old were you when the Pistons won in 04?
2.
It's not his fault, Kool-Aid. Tom Doris drove this man to becoming a Celtics fan.
Celtics fan?
Man.
And he's an Ohio guy, right? Like, you're not Michigan, not a true Michigan, which is okay.
No, he's in Toledo. That's Detroit Jr.
Oh, I smell something.
it is.
That's
Detroit
come on,
Jr.,
man.
Detroit Jr.
Y'all got the Jeep plants down there and everything. Y'all are basically Detroit.
Brendan Dillinger, who has great size, by the way, I think he's just coining them the Woodward Sports Network goons.
Hey, you know what?
I take it as a positive. I take it as a positive.
What's a goon to a goblin?
Yeah.
Hey,
to a goblin.
shout out to Lil Wayne.
Goblin,
No,
like the back of
while
Georgia quarterback.
we're on the topic of Claxton, real quick.
Yeah.
Now that Claxton's off the board, does this turn yourself to, again, a team that just spent a lot of money today, traded a lot of assets yesterday, New York? What about Hartenstein? Now, the plan is they want to keep him, but again, I feel like with that luxury tax bill that they're handing out, I think you can definitely outbid him if you want him. Is that a player you're now turning to now that Claxton's off the board?
Oh, that's a good question because Nick Claxton is somebody I definitely thought was worth that money. But what is the asking price or the bidding price for Hartenstein when the Knicks are all in? Yeah. They're all in. When you mortgage your future that way, it's getting to the point now where it's like, is there really not a price that they won't go to to make sure that they can win this championship? And I do believe that they think he's a huge part of their team. So it just matters really about that price tag that the Pistons would have to probably come up with to be able to secure his services if the Knicks really believe he's that vital to them potentially winning a championship.
Yeah. What about, do you think you could get back, like, if they're going to still try to re-sign Hartenstein, do you think they might want to offload Mitchell Robinson and maybe the Pistons can get back their pick?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think the Knicks are looking to offload anybody. Like you said, I think if you're re-signing Hartenstein, I think you're counting on the fact that Mitchell Robinson, a player who does have a lot of injuries, you know, he's a damn good player, a damn good rim protector, but he does have a lot of injuries. I think that is, you're paying that premium starter level caliber money because you believe that you need 2 starting caliber centers because you can't count on Mitchell Robinson to make that deep playoff run like you would want. So I think I don't see Mitchell Robinson being the move there. I see if anything they look at their draft picks, their other capital that they have, including our Pistons pick, and they look to use that to address and maybe get a center and let Hartenstein walk, get a cheap, cost-effective center. That's the way I would see them going. I see Mitchell Robinson as somebody that Tom Thibodeau loves, that the organization loves, and that they know they can't really count on. So I think they would keep him, and he's kind of like your safety net bonus in case Hartenstein either walks or you have to go and get something else on the market.
Yeah, and what it really does is it kind of brings us back to this original question because I want to dive even more into kind of people's free agency outlook. I want to know kind of what everybody's thinking the Pistons should do, how they should attack it. But effectively, with the front office changes that are taking place right now, we see Troy Weaver out, Monty Williams out. We see Goldstein in. We see I'm sorry. We see Blackstone in. We see J.R. Holden in. And today we get Dennis Lindsey, or yesterday we get Dennis Lindsey. The Detroit Pistons front office is packed. If there's a time to have kind of a Dennis Lindsey type of a hiring announced, which was a guy that was actually in the running for the head president of basketball operations job for the Pistons alongside Trajan, it's right now, right before the draft. Shout out to Rod Beard, who also said that Dennis Lindsey is kind of acting as a GM, but has a much better title that goes along with that right now for the Detroit Pistons. So it's interesting to see what their strategy is going into this draft. But was there anything, any questions from you guys that came about from the front office changes up to this point, or anything that concerns you with the fact that they don't have a GM or a coach yet?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Do you think they'll hire a GM at some point?
I don't know. A lot of the questions that were kind of asked at the press conferences about that, they were kind of non-committal to put a timeline on anything.
Yeah.
Even making it back to the playoffs, building a team, everything was about really doing this thing the right way and making sure that everything, including what they did in the front office and along with the coaches, was kind of done along their own timeline and not kind of rushed. So,
and I'll tell you what, right now with Trajan Langdon and Dennis Lindsey, you've got more smart basketball minds in your front office than you did in the Stan Van Gundy and Troy Weaver era already. So I think this whole, whether they're going to hire a GM or not, is just kind of semantics and all of that. It's Trajan Langdon. I think he's going to run the show. And with Dennis Lindsey, we saw what he did in Utah. We have two guys who are proven. And I think it's going to be a benefit. I know there's some people in the chat, like Chuck Brewer, for example, that could see it as egos or too many cooks in the kitchen. But these are smart people. This isn't the Tellums. This isn't Stefanski, although Tellums are still going to be there. But given that Trajan Langdon has the title of president of basketball operations, I have to believe that he's going to be able to make decisions and that Dennis Lindsey is going to be a big help. I have to. I just do.
That'd be the only one for me, is the fact that they're both gunning for the same job. Now, obviously, one got it over the other, and we're just coming off of a faction storyline when it comes to this franchise. I'm just hoping it doesn't create anything like that. However, they did work together previously, both in Houston and San Antonio, I believe. So hopefully it's a good enough relationship where they're able to work over those things and keep focused at the task at hand.
Yeah. And you know what? This front office, they have a lot of things that they have to kind of correct, not just this year, but really over the next couple years, especially with Trajan Langdon using similar language that we've heard the Lions use. They want not just winning right now, but longevity of success. What do you think? I just kind of want to get you guys feeling it. What's some of your biggest disappointments, if everybody has at least one, that you believe this front office needs to jump on kind of right away?
I got one right away, and I know I've been preaching to the choir with this.
Yeah.
No shooting. And I don't believe it was even really a priority with the Weaver regime at all. You drafted Killian Hayes, who had a history of not being able to shoot. You drafted a Jaden Ivey, who shot 32% at Purdue, although he was better his sophomore year. A lot of his bad shooting has plagued him in the NBA, although he's not the worst of the worst. Asar Thompson, he showed in his 1 year in overtime elite in the regular season that he was a bad shooter. And it obviously reared its ugly head with the Detroit Pistons having his three-point percentage in the teens, even though he did other things well, as Chris mentioned earlier. Jalen Duren, I'm not saying it was a bad pick, but that's not part of his game at all. I just think that it's something that the new front office needs to prioritize more. And when you look at why the Pistons were losing those games, I mentioned all of those guys, but they also had James Wiseman, who can't shoot a lick. You had Isaiah Livers, whose shooting absolutely fell off of a cliff. I want more shooting, and the fact that we didn't have enough of it last year, I thought was a huge detriment to this team.
Fred Vincent, shout out.
I think for me, it's coaching, right? I think we saw what bad coaching does. And I really think that we can't underestimate the potential long-term impact of one season of Monty Williams, because you know what, these young players, how many times do they talk about Casey with reverence? He wasn't the greatest coach. They weren't winning the most games, but he connected with them, and he was somebody that they identified as someone that helped them develop their game. And I think Monty Williams did a lot, specifically to somebody like Jaden Ivey. And it's way too young to say anything ruins anybody's career or anything like that. But it's if you don't nail this coaching hire, man, with a young core, like that's a double whammy right there. If you have a veteran team that's ready to win and you hire the wrong coach, you fire him, you go out, you get the next one. But you know what? If you are building around a core and they're not even certain who their core is, they're identifying that, they're working on that problem right now. So you need the absolute best coach in there for the youth so that you can figure out how many pieces do I actually have? What is actually worth it? Who am I moving on from long term? Who can fit with who? You know, as much as we want to look at these players and how much they got to develop, how can Asar and Duran work together if neither of them can shoot? Those kind of big questions. Like, it also comes down to coaching, because I think we saw what that did to a guy like Jaden Ivey last year and to multiple Pistons players. So I think nailing the coaching hire is as important as anything else, as the roster, as everything else that this Piston has to address.
Can't even argue with that. And for me, I think the front office, it kind of piggybacks on what you're saying, but for me, the biggest disappointment was the front office. Troy Weaver never even got to hire his own coach, which just, it doesn't make sense. You got a guy here for 4 years as your GM, and he can't really build the team to the tune of his own vision. Then the moves he did make, they didn't necessarily pan out. The young guys that we have high hopes for, the rest of the NBA is looking like, okay. And we see how it's panned out right now. Those young guys aren't necessarily leading the team to the wins that we see Franz Wagner and Paulo Banchero doing with Orlando. And I know they're a little bit more around them as it relates to young vets that can play this game. But the charge is being led by those young players going out there on a consistent basis, doing things that we see Ivy doing every now and then, doing things that we see Cade doing a little bit more consistently than Ivy. But Paulo and Franz were just absolute, just kind of the drivers of their team. When I look at what, sheesh, man, what was I going with this? Gosh, man, I just lost my whole train of thought.
Back to Cal. What? Huh?
What'd you say?
Oh, nothing. I was just
too much basketball knowledge up there, man. Too much basketball knowledge up there.
No, I was looking at the chat. I was looking at breaking news that was coming in and all this other type of stuff, and just kind of lost my train of thought with it.
You need an air horn?
Huh?
You need an air horn?
No. It's just like Jimmy Butler's not gonna sign an extension with the Heat or any team ahead of his opt-out in 2025 free agency.
Yeah, he's not signing an extension. And also, there is a little bit of breaking news from the Hawks. If you guys want me to play it, I don't know if you got your headphones in.
You know what? Definitely.
We've been talking about the Hawks. They really, you have reported, will be using every hour deliberating who they will select with the #1 pick. Who are they zeroing in on here?
Malika, the Hawks had gotten down in the final days down to 2 players, I'm told. Zachary Richeche, the French 6'10" wing, and Reed Shepard, the guard out of Kentucky. But I'm told that Richeche continues to separate himself in this pre-draft process, and Richeche is closing in at the top of the draft board in Atlanta as they get ready to hand in their pick.
Okay, so Richeche is who they are circling as of right now. Here he is sitting in the green room waiting to hear his name called. The Atlanta Hawks will be on the clock in less than 30 minutes.
Yeah, and you know what? Hey, that's kind of what we were talking about to start the show as well. Zachary Richeche, the potential #1 overall pick tonight. And I remember the thought, my biggest disappointment. It was on... You know what? The front office, it was forgettable. So, you know, don't.
It went hand in hand. Yeah, you did it.
But that's where I was going earlier. It was like this front office, as they were moving towards one direction, and all of a sudden it seemed like the rug was getting pulled underneath some of the front office personnel to the point that this cohesion broke down everything that they were doing. You start with the good momentum, and then everything else broke down. Some people want Jeremy Grant, some people don't. Some people want Bojan Bogdanovic, some people don't. Some people want to spend money, some people don't. Going into that offseason where they came away with effectively Joe Harris and Monte Morris was utterly disappointing. And they said well before free agency, effectively, because we signed Monty Williams, we're not going to do anything. I believe getting this front office fixed is how we lead to having the right and the effective, not just coaching hire, but also what we do in this draft, what we do in free agency, and how everything fits. Because I think that one of the biggest negatives was the fact that nothing fit. Not the coach, not his vision, not the players, not the young players, not the vets they brought in. Absolutely nothing fit. Not the front office vision, like everything they said that they were setting out to be. This whole bad boys restore image thing, there was no toughness. There was not a guy who could set a real viable screen out there, man. Like, I don't know, man. That was my biggest disappointment. I wish I didn't forget it all a little bit earlier, but that was kind of it for me, man.
I'm the same boat. It's the front office actually having a vision. They lack a vision. There's the Rockets, and obviously the KD situation not going on. We saw Matt Ishbia hit Twitter today and be like, I got my own draft rumor. Yeah. Kevin Durant staying in Phoenix. Eat my Zach Edey. But regardless, there was no type of vision. Like, you were just collecting players, and then at that point, if you're grabbing guys in terms of having them as assets, then use them as that at some point. Like, obviously the Jaden Ivey pick, that's been documented how I felt about that since before it even happened. But, like, why make the pick if you know it's not going to fit what you got going on and you know he's talented? Then make that trade to a team that wants him. Because now we're in a situation where his trade value is at an all-time low coming off of last year, in my opinion, that is, at least. I like what Trajan said at the press conference, though, and it kind of clicked with me today, is that, like, yeah, we do want to, like, hang on to these guys a little bit longer, and it makes sense, too. Because now you're going to sign somebody like Tobias Harris that fits. Because you spread the floor. We know what K's like in that midi. He's a midi magician. He's got that all day, right? So get somebody to help him spread the floor and have Ivy do the same with Fontecchio off the bench. Grow his value, and then you can move off him if you need be, or maybe you keep him staggered and it works out. But, I think we need a true vision and to go towards something instead of just drafting guys. And shooting, Sam, a freaking myth. 29th in the league in three-point makes. I'm looking at Matthias Buzayas up there for us and all these draft class. This guy shot like 27%. That's worse than Asar Thompson did in the G League. Worse than Asar Thompson in the G League. No.
BSA.
No. 11 made threes a game. 11. Like, that's
one person?
That's terrible.
For the Pistons.
That's really terrible, especially when Cade was making like 4 of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
BSA draft the best shooter available.
I'm with that. That's why I like Dalton Connect. Again, I want basketball players that can start just making sense and helping everybody right now, because you can't to the fairness of all of these prospects, of Ivy, of Cade, of Asar, of Duran, everybody. You haven't been given the proper chance to evaluate them. So like throw Asar on Denver, and what does he look like? He looks awesome. He looks like a Rookie of the Year candidate, if not Rookie of the Year. Like, you surround these players in positions that fit their needs and their skill sets, and I think you see better versions of Ivy, better versions of Asar, of Duran, of Cade. So I think just getting basketball players that fit is crucial. I think it sounds so simple, but you know what? The last 4 years, we didn't get that. We got a bunch of flyers on players and a bunch of swings on potential, but none of these guys got to actually see their potential because they weren't put in a system that worked for them. You can't reach your potential there.
Do with that either. Like, I don't think Monty cared to be here. His heart wasn't in it. I think he's a good coach when he wants to coach and his heart's in the game. But what could he have coach cooked up last year? I feel like he felt that Cade and Ivy should be staggered because the way they play, they're better with the ball in their hands. But Killian was the only other option to put out there. You know what I'm saying? And now it makes you look foolish as well, because it's like, okay, well, why are you starting Killian the first? Like, it's just, I can't expect a coach to cook up anything the front office isn't providing the groceries, I guess.
Yeah.
It was tough, though, just because the team was heading in a particular direction. And when you go, and that's why my issue is with the front office. When you go and you get a coach that don't know how to use the ingredients that you already bought, it ain't like they got the coach and then went and got the ingredients. They got the ingredients and then got a chef who knows nothing about this culture of food. So it was just a oddity, man, to me. And I do believe, like, if you're going to stagger Jaden Ivey and Cade, and if Killian's the only guy that you could play to start the season, I'm okay with that. But Jaden Ivey still wasn't getting minutes at the beginning of the season. That was what was weird to me. He just wasn't getting played. And so it's just like, I don't know what Monty Williams was trying to do, what he was trying to prove with the Jaden Ivey thing, but that
it seems like
probably the biggest head scratcher.
It just seems like he didn't like him, flat out. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. The video that you showed us and him just speaking about him just regularly, it just seemed like he had some type of problem with him, man. I don't know what that was about.
Times have passed now, so it's like he's no longer here. It's like we can kind of speak on it. And we were talking about this behind the scenes about what was going on between Monty Williams and Jaden Ivey. And every time we would bring up a question about Jaden Ivey to Monty Williams, his whole entire disposition would change. And that's what KG's talking about. I got to kind of show him a video. Sometimes people might think that you cap. And it's like, no, like, we're really in here at the practices asking this guy these questions. And his entire body, like you saw it, right? What do you remember from it, bro?
Yeah, man, you could tell his voice change. He started getting more defensive. It almost seemed like when asked about Jaden Ivey, he was like, "Well, he's doing okay." Like, yeah, it was just weird to me.
I don't
Weird
know
energy,
about
man.
that. I think he has to do this and do that more. Just the levels of criticism, and like and to think about it this way in juxtaposition to Killian Hayes, we would ask him about how is Monty Morris looking.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Killian Hayes is looking good.
Oh,
It's
my
just
God.
No one cares about
okay.
Killian Hayes, man.
Guys,
That's how the season started.
That's what you're saying.
No, can we just put it out there with Monty Williams? Monty Williams at the beginning of the year, the fact that you were starting at the beginning of the season, Killian Hayes and Asar Thompson, and when Jalen Duren was healthy, Jalen Duren, all in the same starting lineup. Monty Williams was a literal terrorist last year. And that doesn't even I'm not even mentioning those all bench lineups in which you were basically guaranteed to be outscored by 10 when they were on the floor all at the same time. It irks me so much because I've seen it with a lot of coaches and including, I know this isn't a baseball show. I see this sometimes with even AJ Hinch right now and certainly with Monty Williams this past year when you don't use your players the right way. I understand there were some injuries. I understand you started the year with Boyan being hurt, which wasn't ideal because I think if he would have played more, Cade would have benefited and Boyan would have benefited. But you could have done better than what he did to start the season. You basically had 3 guys who couldn't shoot a lick starting. And when Jalen Duren was out, still 2 guys who couldn't shoot a lick starting and playing significant minutes. I wonder why they had a 28-game losing streak. I'm so glad Monty Williams is gone. My God.
Sam was like, I just got to cut it here. But I know it is 8, so the NBA draft is officially starting. We do have it on here. Do we have it on in the Lions Den as well?
Oh, that's what you were saying.
No, we can turn it on over there.
Yeah, so everybody can definitely make sure they're keyed in, watching and everything. So we will make sure that we kind of keep you guys updated on what's going on. Let's engage. Let's talk.
Yeah.
But, Broder, I know you got some table talk questions for us. I want to jump into that because I know we'll be able to kind of talk about the offseason outlook throughout the rest of this draft coverage.
Definitely. I got some trade scenarios. Do you guys want to start with Bulls, Blazers, Wizards, or the Grizzlies?
I like Jeremy Grant. I don't know where you're going with this, so I got to go
Maybe
Blazers.
he's not in the trade. We'll see. So just to preface this, I put together a handful of trade scenarios, draft night trade scenarios. Some of them, let me know if they're realistic or not. Use it just as a starting
easy,
reference point. Yeah, easy. Let them know. Let them know. It's just to get the conversation started. JB, could you start with that Portland Trailblazers trade scenario?
I got you.
Yes. And it doesn't involve Jeremy Grant, but we can change this conversation if you'd like. I'm seeing Anthony Simmons, Malcolm Brogdon, pick number 7 for Jaden Ivey and pick number 5. And then, again, also in a scenario, let me know who you would draft, but I put Dalton Connect here.
Yes.
I think they just moved Brogdon, though.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Oh, did they?
Just before the show.
Just before the show, yep.
They just did.
They did. Just before this show?
Yes.
Yep. The NBA is the Wild West, bro.
Okay, cool.
I like that.
Shit can change on the dime.
I would have taken that, though. I like that.
I mean, Ivy and 5 to me, like I like Brogdon. I like the 7th pick. I think that's a steep price to move back for Anthony Simons, who I like as a shooter. I'm not in love with him. I think he's been in, situations that aren't necessarily conducive to winning basketball, and I think he's, if you want to build a winning culture, I don't know if he's that guy. So I'm personally a little, colder on him than most, but
let me ask you this, because Jeremy Grant is a more established player. Mm-hmm. Do the Pistons need to give up less if Jeremy Grant is in this trade instead of Anthony Simons because of the contract and the age and whatnot? Or, I don't know, talk to me, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so.
You can go ahead.
I think Jeremy Grant costs less because I just believe, although people aren't that high on Simons, I damn sure don't think people are high on Grant, not because of his abilities. They all like who he is as a player. I just think everyone looked at that contract and said, ugh. I mean, the heavies, we were on air last year, right when Jeremy Grant signed the contract with Portland. And we looked at it and we all went, oof, that's a lot of money. So I think Jeremy Grant is more gettable than Simons, because I think when you're rebuilding like Portland, you're always going to look at the younger guys and maybe put a little more value in them, even if it shouldn't necessarily be there.
Can I say one thing really quick? Because I agree that Jeremy Grant, if If he was available in a trade package, great as well. But when I look at that trade package that you mentioned, you can take Malcolm Brogdon out of it because, the Portland Trail Blazers just dealt him. I would take Anthony Simons and the 7th pick alone for Jaden Ivey in 5. Anthony Simons last season was 23 points a game, 6 assists per game on 39% from 3 on 9 attempts. I understand he doesn't have the best size. He's only 6'3", but I think he can play. I think he'll be able to play some off ball. I know that's a little bit of that might be a little redundant with Cade, but I love Anthony Simons and his ability to shoot. And right now, for me, that's part of my philosophy. Get more shooters out there because they were a 14-win team. I'm not going to get too nuanced with it. If you can get Anthony Simons and you have to give away Jaden Ivey in the 5th pick along with getting the 7th in compensation, we could still maybe get a Dalton Connect right there. Inject it.
Hey, that's 2 good shooters right there. So, again, I'm not mad at it. And I think the theme you're going to see with me when it comes to these Piston trade picks is there's not a lot I'm going to say no to. It's 1:30 a.m. You're drunk at the bar, and you're not. Beggars can't be choosers, my man.
Can't be choosers.
Somebody got to go home.
They did though too. That trade you cooked up was pretty close with that. Actually, yeah, it was.
Let's go. You guys want a Bulls trade?
Let's do it.
Let's
do it. JB, could you throw up that Bulls trade?
Because these are some of the teams that the Detroit Pistons are rumored to kind of be in a potential deal with right now.
Yeah.
Their 5th pick is attractive.
Yes.
Yes. This one's too good to be true.
Yeah, there's no way in hell this is happening.
You're not just giving up Jaden.
Yeah, we gotta give him something else.
Right.
But
wait, what?
No, this is what we're talking about.
For all that money? Think about
sure?
Lonzo's money.
This is not necessarily bad. Yeah. When you're talking about the fact that it was reported that the Detroit Pistons were literally the only team who showed interest in Zach LaVine, and that they would potentially have to attach assets to be able to get his contract off the book. That's where this actually doesn't look that far-fetched at all to me. It really doesn't.
And they got Josh Giddey now, so hypothetically, the Jaden Ivey athleticism and cutting works. But aside from that, it was more like we're taking a lot of money off the Bulls' books with this.
Yeah, Lonzo, who hasn't played, Zach
1 year,
LaVine,
$21
who
million.
has injury issues. You're getting Jaden Ivey, who's going to give you some playing time. I wonder if they would want some type of a pick in this deal, even if it's a 2nd-round pick. Returning, but I actually don't think that's too far-fetched of a deal.
And if you draft Klingon in that spot, does that mean you got to get rid of Duren? Because you'll eventually have to pay Duren. I don't know if you want that type of contract just sitting on the bench. I don't know if he would like sitting on the bench, after all that's happened. Do you got to get rid of Duren?
If you go with Klingon,
who else would you go with, in this scenario?
I like like I said, if you're looking at like a Dalton Connect, if a Reed Shepherd falls, a Cody Williams, who's been very, very popular over the last couple of weeks. There are some options for the Pistons to be able to go out there and kind of get a two-way type of a player, a player that can shoot the ball at volume. That's where I'm hoping that Cody Williams' game translates when he gets to the NBA, that he can shoot it at volume. But those are some of the 3 type players that I like in this, the wing type players that I like.
Call me crazy, but I don't like that one. If I'm Detroit, I want another first.
You want more?
Yeah. All that money? Look, I'm not looking at Lonzo as a lot because ultimately it is an expiring deal. But if you got 2 seconds for Joe Harris, you attach some type of price for Lonzo. That's all your free agency money between Zach LaVine and Lonzo Ball. That means no Tobias Harris. That means no nothing. That is who you're rocking with for a player. And Lonzo Ball, who I once upon a time wanted in Detroit, literally is learning to walk again. Those are actual reports that he is going through he is sitting out this year with the chance to maybe one day play basketball again. That's how serious his knee injury is. So that's dead money. That removes all free agency help you get right there. Any other bad contract trade help there. And you're getting a pick in a weak draft for a guy in Ivy who would probably go number 1 in this draft. Seriously, where would Ivy go if we're drafting this board right now? Forget if you're the Pistons. Easy says 35th, but if you're
channel what we thought of him 2 years ago when he was coming out.
He'd probably be number 1. He'd be top.
We got our number 1 draft pick selection. You got the breaking news. There we go. It is Zachary Risache of France to the Atlanta Hawks has been reported. We started the show off with that news as well. So
There you
that
go,
it
Easy.
follows through, man. It's gonna be interesting to see
There you go.
how the rest of this board continues to fall.
I gotta sneak one in then because there's one that involves the number 2 pick. So
Let's
I'm gonna
go.
throw it
Let's
at
do
you.
it.
Can you put up that Wizards one, Mr. JB Smooth, with 8 A's, 8 O's? Randy.
Hey,
has 8
chat
A's.
family, I need you guys to be active as well. We got a Woodward Pistons merch giveaway. Trav, I'll make sure that I get you the details of whoever the winner is. But chat family, let's get this likes up. Let's zoom through this goal. Let's be active. Let's engage. And by the end of the show, we will announce a member or a winner who's going to get some Woodward Pistons merch from the Woodward Sports Shop. Let's take it away, brother.
There we go. Kyle Kuzma on pick number 2. Obviously, probably drafting Alexander Sarr, unless you guys tell me otherwise, for Ivy Durnan 5.
Wow.
Let me start. I would rather run my car through a ditch than take this trade. To kind of paraphrase Mike Valeni, shout out. Kyle Kuzma actually, and I get it, he's a 20-point per game guy. You actually might get worse at shooting getting Kyle Kuzma on your team instead of Jaden Ivey. And here's the thing. Now that Zachary Richase isn't available, like, you'd get Alexander Sarr at 2 and add Kyle Kuzma. I don't like it. And I'm not even, I think Kyle Kuzma's a little bit overhated by some, but he can't shoot. He is a 34%, he's sub 34% for his career. And he's kind of a volume scorer. I think I think on like the Wizards, he's like good stats, bad team. So
basically
no.
a ball hog.
Yes.
I don't know. Like I understand the stats he puts up, but I just don't know what type of player he'd be with a K Cunningham, and that concerns me. If you can't be a good player, or if it's a question next to K Cunningham, then listen. Don't come nowhere.
And I don't blame a player's ego for coming here with a 14-win team and being like, "Who's going to tell me to not shoot the ball?"
Right.
Like I can't look at
when you're coming from a 15-win team, though. It's like, what are we talking about?
Well, I get that part of it, but I mean, you're looking at guys like Marcus Smart, Kyle Kuzma, all these guys that I like, Zach LaVine, that I would be okay coming to the Pistons at a certain price point. Like, you got to acknowledge that these are guys that will step in there and think they are the best player on this team, and I don't know if that's the best thing for this organization. I think a guy like Easy talked about, Tobias Harris, the mindset of him, I don't think Tobias is trying to steal anybody's shine. I think he's coming here, he knows his role, he's going to stick to it, just to fit in. And I'm not crazy about Tobias, but that's a plus when you look at him versus maybe potentially bringing in a guy like Kuzma.
I don't hate the Kuzma thing.
I don't either.
I know 33% is not anything crazy, but it still allows you to stretch the floor. But let's not forget, he played with the ball dominant LeBron James, and they've won a championship. That's LeBron James. What was Kuzma on the team that won the championship with?
They also had AD and KCP and Danny Green and Dwight and all that.
But he's been on a team where he wasn't the number one option. So of course, he's like taking all these shots in Washington because who else they're split with?
Well, we're Detroit. We're the only team. We're the only team that Washington looked at and was like,
I'm not solely blaming him for
you.
being a ball hog and a bad team, but he's like their only offensive guy. Like I just don't. I don't think it's a character trait of his. I know he's flashy off the court. I know he's always a little bit of a shit talker and stuff like that. But like, I think it could fit. I don't think it's crazy.
But when his usage rate isn't up, what is he? Like, if he can't be a guy that can help Cade Cunningham stretch the floor, be a decent pick and pop guy or a good pick and roll and finisher at the rim, then what exactly is Kyle Kuzma to the Detroit Pistons? He seems like a guy that has to kind of dominate from a usage standpoint to be able to give you the stats that we see him giving you in Washington. If he's with Cade Cunningham and these Pistons, and Cade is a guy that's dominating the ball, as well as say if they go out there and they get like another shooter, you got Simone Fontecchio here as well. Which, to me, I don't know how redundant that is when you got a Simone Fontecchio and a Kyle Kuzma, but I don't know. I don't think it's not as bad as I'm probably making it sound, but I just don't know if he fits.
His last year as a Laker, when he was that catch-shoot guy, because he was the number one option, 36% from three.
Of the one time,
when he
his
was
rookie
a
year
catch-shoot
too.
three-point guy, not just, you know what I'm saying, I was putting him up. So, like, I'm telling you, like, in a role where he's
a bucket,
willing to accept his role, like, he can be effective for you, and he'll stretch the floor.
Yeah, I can be talked into him. I can, but, Weezy313 made a good point, and he said, I'm not a fan of the volume bucket getters because when I see what Kyle Kuzma was in Washington, I remember a specific interview with one Michael Beasley in New York saying, I'm basically Carmelo on the left side of the floor. And I was just like,
Carmelo.
you know, them irrational confidence guys, like you do need them for a championship, but I don't know if you need them if you're building a foundation.
Yeah.
I mean, he won a championship as the guy, so.
Yeah, when he wasn't that.
Hey, look, Easy makes
It was
a
Kyle Kuzma's
decent
championship.
point.
Right.
Hey, and breaking news, we got the number 2 draft pick in right now, and it is, as reported, Alexander Sarr, number 2 to the Washington Wizards.
Okay.
So far, no trades. It was rumored that there could be a lot of trades that happen in the top 5 or top 10. I assume that this was something that a lot of people thought was going to happen the way that this board is falling now, and that if you kind of get some chaos, it's going to be something that happens starting right now.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bow Wow.
Yeah, 3 is where it gets interesting because that's Houston, and we all saw the report. I know everybody at Woodward saw the report of the Memphis Grizzlies potentially offering 3 firsts to get into the top 5 to draft Klingon. So this is the big one. San Antonio is not looking to trade their pick because they're at 4, so they also have 8, so they're just going to take the best player that they like and fits them, and it won't be a Klingon, it won't be another center, I promise that. So I don't see them making a move for a center. So Memphis is targeting Houston at 3 or Detroit at 5. And so if Houston stands pat, takes Reed Shepherd, or trades somewhere else for Klingon, then and they're available, then you got Memphis, and another team to throw in there too is OKC. OKC is a team that everybody was screaming to go get a center at the trade deadline. They didn't do it. They got 1 million picks, including some unprotected Clippers picks that are very enticing. So if I'm Detroit, I'm hoping to God that I get to 5 and Klingon's on the board because I think you can really get a haul for that. These are 2 franchises that are desperate to make a move. Both Memphis and OKC are young teams that see themselves as contenders, and I think they're loaded with picks and ready to make a deal. I think that's exactly what you have to look for if you're Detroit.
That was one of the strategies that Rob Beard of Detroit News, shout out to him, that he stated this morning during our Woodward Pistons segment is one of the best bets for the Pistons is if they get to pick number 5 and you got a Donovan Klingon there, because then it allows you to be able to trade that player to a team who was looking to have a big, and you could trade down, get some extra draft capital, as well as get another asset to be able to help you this season and be able to get a player that can shoot the cover off the ball like a Dalton Connect a little bit lower in the draft. Or if you want to go with more of that high ceiling, high potential guy, then maybe you go with a Cody Williams as well.
I got a couple scenarios for you guys involving those 2 teams.
Let's do it.
And we can probably get quicker through these 2, the Grizzlies and the OKC. Let's start with the Grizzlies, if you could, JB.
I got you.
We got pick number 5, straight up for G.G. Jackson, pick number 6. Pick number 9, excuse me. You take shooting guard Cody Williams. Or Dalton Connect, or someone else on the board.
I'm doing that.
Yeah.
I'm doing that because you know what? I like Cody Williams. That's a guy that I've really circled on my board. I went back and forth on him, but I like him. G.G. Jackson's a prospect I liked last year. Played very well.
Got a 44-point game.
We can talk about, all these potential players and all these potential picks and what they could be, but you're trading for middle schoolers, high schoolers. Like, you don't know what you're getting when it comes to future draft picks. And especially the way teams change, like, think about 24 hours ago, how it looked to have a Nets pick versus now.
True.
How, things change very fast in the NBA. Look at Durant, how quickly he moved from Brooklyn to Phoenix. So things change really fast in the NBA. Franchise picks out in the future, you can't really fully predict their value. You could try, but it's fool's gold. So give me young players in the NBA that I've seen have good games, like you brought up. I think that's excellent. I think that's excellent trade, brother.
Give me G.G. Jackson.
Yeah.
Give me that trade 100% of the time. He's a guy who was one of the more, in terms of draft value, one of the most impactful rookies last season. Gave you about 14 a game, 36% from 3 on 6 attempts. Is like a 6'9" wing. Give me G.G. Jackson with the ability to draft Cody Williams as well with his potential. Again, veins.
You're talking about swapping out a top 5 pick right now, which is a lot of us have been saying trade back, because you can get a similar type prospect. I think in this top 2 to 10, you can get the player that you want. Anywhere in that area, you're going to get a good player. Swapping the draft picks and then picking up someone who can help you right away, I'm okay with it.
And the reason I didn't put more picks or more stuff in that coming from Memphis, I do think they're high on G.G. Jackson, so they might not be willing to give up much more than this. But would you rather do that or totally not even include players? If you go to OKC, I couldn't really even find a player to take from their team or that they want to swap. So what about a bunch of future picks, including pick number 12 of this year?
Yeah.
Is this the type of strategy you would go with?
This is exactly what I brought up just an hour ago on the heavyweights. Like making these kind of moves, I think again are good. Unless you're very high on Gigi Jackson, take a guy that you have more tape on, you have more familiarity with. But if you're just in the game of hunting assets, I think at 5 versus 12, I think you can get a lower end but same value player in this draft in 2 future firsts that you can then flip for either another young prospect that you like on another team, or you can keep those, and those become valuable because when you extend to guys like Cade Cunningham, you don't have the flexibility, so picks give you that.
Quick pause.
Yeah, hey, we got the 3rd pick of the draft in right now. Houston has selected sharpshooter Reed Shepherd.
Damn.
All right, here we go.
Shooter,
Detroit's
man.
5. Detroit. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Look, we're getting close to the Detroit Pistons. I want our reactions to be as authentic as possible. Whether they trade, whether they make a pick we don't want them to do. If they pick something that's like, you know what, that's pretty awesome. I can't wait to see what exactly they have open to them right now. This draft board is pretty much falling the way that a lot of people thought that it would. So no surprises yet. I do wonder, as you continue to present some of these trade scenarios.
2 more.
Well, my only pushback is if you're getting these kind of draft picks, especially for the future, are you utilizing them to make your team better today, or are you sitting on those draft picks? Because for me personally, if I'm getting rid of that number 5, I really want to be able to prioritize getting NBA level guys right now. And that was kind of our refrain earlier in the show. So if I'm getting rid of that number 5 pick, I kind of like what Rod was suggesting earlier. If you got to give up maybe 1 or 2 of our current young guys with that number 5 to get somebody that can come in here and absolutely run the floor with Cade Cunningham to the tune of at least all-star level contribution. Maybe not an all-star. Like DeMar DeRozan was a top 25, top 30 NBA player last year. I don't care what anybody wants to say about what they think he is. What he actually did last year was one of the best players in the NBA. I'm not saying that that's who they should get, but it would be nice if the Pistons could have went out there and just cashed out on somebody like that, found a way to be able to acquire someone like that and let him or someone else run with Cade Cunningham. That's kind of at least the strategy that I'm thinking.
I love that.
The great thing with Broder's pick, though, is that you could do both those. Like, you could then take those picks that you got in the OKC trade. We just talked about Nick Claxton during the show. Damn, we thought we could have signed you. Detroit's so bad, nobody wants to come here. Well, now with those first-round picks, you force their hand. You make the trade for them, and you still have those young pieces to then make the trade for later on as well. You get a veteran piece that you want on your terms, and then, you still have the young piece to get rid of, too.
Also, I think now cap space is a weapon more than ever with the new CBA. So I think you can take these picks and you can use them now to make the moves that you want to make. So I'm all for getting better. I'm all for getting better now.
And are you more motivated to do that in this scenario because they're OKC's first round picks that are likely going to be pretty late in the first round?
Well, I'm sorry, but I'm calling about one of them Clippers picks. Like you gotta really talk to me nice. Yeah, you gotta really talk to me nice. It's a top 5 pick. You're a contending team. Talk to me nice. Come on.
And I want to answer Dad with Tourette's, and after this, I want to be able to also start as we get close to the Pistons pick, start to talk about what we think they should do. I know that's kind of been the backbone of a lot of the conversation today. And then we want to get to some more of Broder's questions as well.
He's got 2.
But he said Kool-Aid or anyone. What am I missing with Klingon? He said he can block shots. Awesome. But he can't shoot. He can't pass. He's a bad free throw shooter. He's just 2 years younger than Edie. What am I missing? I kind of disagree with a lot of what you're saying there. He is shown to have quicker feet, more athletic, more nimble, able to kind of set those bone-jarring screens for a pick and roll where he can clear out. And even when he doesn't set the bone-jarring one, his ability to slip a screen quickly. And where my mind instantly goes is when he's working with a player like a Cade Cunningham, I feel like Donovan Klingon is the perfect type of center. Can catch the lobs. He plays above the rim. Can get the rebounds. He's a defensive menace in the paint. He causes havoc on the defensive side. Help side, weak side, man-to-man. And these are things that we've been missing. As much as I love Jalen Duren, what got me really, really starting to talk about Nick Claxton and writing about him way back in November and December, word to Broder, It's like it was those things. When you look at the defensive efficiency difference between a Nick Claxton and a Jalen Duren, which is 5 whole points, that's a lot of points, y'all. That's a lot of freaking points.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's like Nick Claxton, 4 stocks per game, manning the paint, rim protecting. These are things that we see only when the Detroit Pistons are like a really good team. That's what makes me kind of desire that.
Yeah, I mean, look, 5 points is like 7 Piston shots. Like you gotta take that. You gotta take that. And can I just quickly before we get here, because this is the perfect time to do it after the Reed Shepherd pick. This is just crazy brain here. So I wanna really throw this out here. Well, we can. If you're Detroit, are you calling Houston, who just drafted Reed Shepherd, a good shooter, and are you trying to reunite 1 and 2 of the 2021 draft and get Cade and Jalen Green? Are you looking at a move like that? Because look, Houston doesn't want to get younger. They're linked to Kevin Durant. They don't want to get younger. They can take that 5 and maybe they can go talk to Memphis or OKC and explore those trades. But if you're Detroit, do you look at Jalen Green as a distressed asset?
Isn't that beef real? I recall seeing a video on Twitter where like Cade dunked on him, then Pat did one of these.
Yeah,
you're my son. I feel like that beef's like legit.
I mean, it'd be easy. Me and you have said words to each other, so me and you have said words to each other talking shit.
Yeah, but we're
so.
actually like there's I don't know. I think there's genuine animosity there. But listen, I used to like the idea of that pairing. Jaden Green has a shot as much as I thought as well as I thought he would.
He's inconsistent though. That's the
very
problem.
inconsistent.
Like he looked great when Sengun went down.
Yeah.
Like he was 40-point triple doubles right up there with Malachi Flynn. Like he was balling.
My only issue with Green again is, as much as we complain that the Pistons have been a bad fit, is adding him to this room, both character-wise as well as on the court. Is that one of these? Is it just kind of running it back as another bad fit? That's what I wonder with Green, because this guy thinks he is the best basketball player to grace God's green earth. And when you come to this young Pistons team that's already void of an identity and the talent, we don't know necessarily what the talent is. That, to me, is the type of thing that a player like Jalen Green, he turns into a vulture on that type of kind of dysfunction on a squad. And that kind of scares me.
No, and honestly, and maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I've also seen him, I've watched him throughout his career, as we all have. I don't like Jalen Green. I think it's absolutely hilarious because he thinks he's the best basketball player on God's green earth. Bro, you ain't even the best player on your own team. Sengun passed you.
Yeah,
he did.
That's fact.
Sengun is Baby Yoke, and Jalen Green is.
We got number 4.
We got number 4.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right, so we got number 4. This one's kind of surprising.
Oh boy,
it is Stephen Castle.
Wow.
Take him.
San Antonio Spurs.
Take him.
Right.
Take him.
I like him.
I like that.
6'6".
For them, good.
214, I believe, is the weight. But the shooting numbers. The shooting numbers is what did it for me. But everything else is there.
Yeah.
If you believe that this is a guy that you can help at the next level become a serviceable shooter for the Spurs, I like it. It gives him some toughness. It's a decent pick. I mean, when you're talking about a guy that's probably a little bit more proven than some of the potential guys in that area, I can't be mad at it.
Is number 5 getting more and more valuable by the second?
I mean, I think it's
all right.
I think it's got the value that we want. I think it's got the value that we want. This is how the draft board is. We wanted it to break coming into this moment right here. So now I think the Pistons
It's the moment. It's that time, man.
Where are you guys at? Are you guys?
I got a question for y'all. So now there's been a lot of rumors that are linking Jeremy Grant to the Pistons. Now that they made that pick, that trade earlier in the day. What would that trade look like now? Because they can't offer you a first-round pick in this draft.
You said, who? Portland?
Portland with Jeremy Grant.
I would love Jeremy Grant. I mean, Easy, you probably noticed. I know you noticed, man. I've been, since we traded him, I thought that was one of the biggest mistakes that the Detroit Pistons made. Now we're looking for a player like him. He blossomed into the type of player that a lot of people kind of criticize him for not being here in Detroit. And really, I thought it was because of the lack of talent that he had here. When he went to Cleveland, the usage rate went down. The three-point percentage blossomed. The catch and shoot from 3 and mid-range blossomed. His driving ability, his free throws, all these things kind of went up for Jeremy Grant.
Reverse Kuzma.
The reverse Kuzma, man. I would love Jeremy Grant. I don't know necessarily what the deal would look like. It depends on how people are valuing him. Because he's still, in my opinion, a plus player.
Yo, Jeremy Grant with this version of Cade, year 4 as opposed to rookie, given the fact that Jeremy Grant had his time in Portland and shot 40% from 3 both seasons. Man. Give it to me.
Yeah.
Bring him home.
I'm good with that, but you know what? That Memphis. I mean, can you not get Jeremy Grant for the assets you can get from Memphis without all of it? Like, can you make multiple transactions to get Jeremy Grant? And I think you can. So if I'm Detroit right now, man, I'm trade the pick. Is there anybody on this board? If Memphis comes with a haul, is there anybody on this board that anybody in this room is passionate about saying, forget a haul, forget a bag of assets?
No.
Okay.
No.
So
I'm disappointed with pick 5. I'll put you that way.
All right, what's on?
I think we got to trade, man. I really think we got to trade.
We don't need.
We got to make the deal.
My heart's racing because I feel like the Woj bomb. Like
I'm nervous,
my
bro.
heart's racing too.
I'm checking everything.
I didn't
right
think the
now,
draft was
man.
good.
Montez Boy's tweet, man.
Dude, no.
I'm just waiting for that tweet.
Right now at 5, if we are gonna pick, chat has Don't Connect at 31%, playing in at 30%.
I think you can move back and get him now. I think you can move back and get him personally.
Buzelis at 16%.
Chris was telling me before the show he's a real big Zach Edey fan.
No. I never get on this desk. Don't you dare try to besmirch me.
I remember that. I do not.
I'm leaving if we take Edey, 100%.
We're not taking Edey.
Hey, Zach Edey, 37 and cleaning his head top. Just
we cut the stream if it's Edey.
I want to believe that you can trade back and get Dalton Connect, but I didn't know how sure it was
Trade
that
back
Reece
and
Shepard
get
was going to go
Dillingham.
top 5. I definitely didn't think Stephen Castle was going to go top 5, even though we did hear the rumors that he was one of the players that the Spurs
Can
were
he play point
interested
guard?
in. Stephen Castle? Yeah, he got the handles to do so.
That's what the Spurs need was a point guard. That's why I was like a little taken back. But
He's
Good for
6'6",
them.
I love you. I
He can
can't
play
look at
wing,
you right
off
now.
Guard, yeah.
I can't look at the chat right now. I'm too nervous.
I know.
nervous.
I actually dropped my phone.
Yeah.
Is there a situation? Would they ever take Klingon to then trade? Like they're on
Yeah. That can happen for
Okay.
sure. That can.
If they take Klingon, do they keep Duran?
Yeah,
That's the question. That's the question. Is Klingon somebody that if you draft Klingon there, are you bringing him off the bench behind the Duran and saying, you know what, that's our depth piece, especially since you're letting go of a James Wiseman, potentially trading an Isaiah Stewart? Is that something you could do, or are you going Duran and you got to trade? I don't want to trade a Jalen Duran. I believe in the potential that Jalen Duran brings to the table personally.
Yeah.
But if it is a Klingon, I'm hoping that they do something to try and flip that pick, honestly.
Time out. Our
Where you at?
on the money.
Oh, man.
Easy wants to draft Jordan Love, he says.
Oh,
And he
man.
said, I wish over here when I showed him the comment.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
He could probably be a better shooter than
Hey,
me.
clip it for stick.
Pistons are taking
hold
their
on,
time
blast.
right now, though.
They're on the clock?
Can't put me out blast. They're
Listen,
so
I'm
much
telling you,
love
I'm telling you.
I was the first one to it.
I need a Woj bomb.
I'm telling you, man. Trey John.
Yeah, Pistons are taking their time because Stephen Castle was the pick at 4.
Good.
Trey John's got 2 phones right now. OKC.
The OKC one, I'll be so happy if it's the trade that Broder like mocked to us. I'll be.
All the picks?
Yeah, that's the one. Like you gotta think about too, like this draft class is even that like strong. And to be honest with you too, without a coach, you shouldn't be making any commitments to players. You know what I'm saying?
That's a
Grab more
phenomenal
assets.
point.
Great thought, Easy.
That's a
Thanks, guys. Catch me up over at Heavyweights live from 5 to 7. Check it out.
I like that.
No, without a head coach, you'd be making no commitment to any players. To be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not mad at that. And you got plenty of young players you can evaluate right now, which is why I'm okay with trading this pick.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how there's been so much fanfare over the first couple drafts that we covered. Easy, you were a part of a lot of those too, man. And this one, it just kind of, the draft got here and it was just kind of like, okay. And I think it kind of, when you couple this with what they did this season, when you couple this with everything that went on with getting rid of the front office, getting rid of the coach and everything of that nature, it's just like, here we are. But right now, as the Pistons are on the clock, my heart is starting to kind of get a little bit
I
going.
just got chills.
I'm just like, all right, let's go. I'm hoping they trade back.
Look at this. Look at Kool-Aid. You can't even see goosebumps right
Yeah, I
now.
see the goosebumps. Look, they got to trade back though, right?
Please.
They have
I don't know,
to.
bro. It's been too long.
I know.
It's been too long.
They don't have to. They got to. They
Bro,
need
they've been
to.
taking their time.
Everyone in this room is spamming the refresh button.
Please.
Unless
Do not break it live.
wait, because didn't Young get drafted and then traded for Doncic after that pick?
Yes. I believe so.
How are we breaking? We looking at our phones, or we just looking at the broadcast?
No, I want you to announce it with either it on the full screen, as many reactions as we can possibly get. We're gonna test JB here because I want to see Flannel's face. I want to see Easy's. I want to see the goons back there.
Yeah.
What's a goon to a goblin?
Exactly.
Nobody's answered that question yet.
So
they're taking their time.
You gotta announce it. Bring me Kevin Herter.
I never thought a weak draft would have me this excited.
That's what I was thinking, bro. Like, I didn't think I'd be this effed up right now.
Kevin Herter, come on home.
Here I am.
What are they doing? What are you doing, Tracy Langdon?
Pistons trade for Easy of the Woodward heavyweight.
That guy's athletic.
Look, Pistons just got a couple of minutes left, man, on the clock.
They got 2:13 left.
That guy Easy danced on the torn MCL. That's
hard.
That's grit. That's grit. You can't teach that.
That's grit. We got 423 people in the chat right now. Spam it with either the player you
want. My God.
What? Wait, not like Kool-Aid announce it, but something.
Okay,
What's going on? I'm not looking.
Are y'all ready for the pick?
Yeah.
Ron Holland of the G-League Ignite.
What the fuck is that?
What are you doing?
Number 10 on my big board.
God,
only
the damn it, bro.
Listen, we gotta. What? No trade back. You
This
took
is
Ron Holland.
You couldn't trade back and get this man.
Hold on, dog. What? Welcome to the Tracy Langdon era. All right, we gotta talk about Ron Holland, huh?
Oh, we don't.
Do we have to? 6'8",
that guy.
Ron Holland, the G League Ignite, 6'8", 208 pounds, 18.5 points per game, 6.7 rebounds, 2.8 assists, 2.1 steals, 1.1 blocks per game. He is shooting 47.4% from the field,
Give me the 3-point percentage.
15.5 field goals a game. And Sam, get ready for this. 23.9%.
Wait.
Oh, yeah, another one.
Hey, you think I didn't know that? You think I didn't have it ingrained in my head? Like right here?
Listen, shout out to Rod Beard. He just put shrugs. Shout out to Rod Beard of the Detroit News. Wow. What did we? Okay, so what did we miss here? Anybody? What did we miss here on Ron Holland?
Is he a better defender than Mateus?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Probably,
I think so.
yeah. His stats are at 3.3.
I
think he's a good defender. His efficiency shooting the ball.
We drafted somebody at the bottom of the screen. We drafted somebody at the bottom of the screen, man.
Listen,
what are we doing?
He got some things
I'm
to
about to
like.
drop
It's
you for your
just
diss track against
if you pick there, can't you get him if you trade back? Like he was a threat to be picked before 5.
Yeah, that's what I want to know is who does Trajan think on his board that was going to potentially take this guy? That's what I don't understand. I think in this draft, I get it. You know, there is a lot of fluidity. Maybe you just want to be certain if it's your guy.
All right.
But ultimately, I can't look at this draft with any type of confidence. Well, I look crazy with the light right now. but no, I look like the angel that came down to take all you Pistons fans to heaven, man. Right. This is tough.
Or hell.
Yeah, no. I mean, you deserve to be in heaven if you're devoted to Pistons like that, man.
And Woj just said that there's a team that's working to move up to get Klingon, and that's Portland. Like
Portland. Oh wow.
Like there was nothing the Pistons could have done, or were they just really not a threat to take Dillingham that they just couldn't really finagle this thing at all? I just don't understand what's going on right now with this pick. I'm not against the Ron Holland pick. There is some upside there. It's just a matter of, is this a pick that you could have had by making a deal and trading back, especially with all the rumors leading up to this being that teams are willing to trade back. And I believe they just said that the Charlotte Hornets just traded back with Memphis, I believe. I'm waiting for confirmation right now, and that's what I mean. It's like, was there a
we're
deal
gonna look
to
at
be
this
had?
pack. Yeah, we're gonna look at this. We're gonna look at this trade package, and as long as it's more than one first.
The Grizzlies traded up from 9 to 6, but didn't say what they gave up yet.
Yeah. I guarantee whatever it is gonna make everyone in this room mad. I guarantee it. Even if it's not the price point that we thought it was earlier, I guarantee a lot of you are higher on 2 firsts than Ron Holland.
Hey, and Chuck Brewer in the chat, possibly there were 0 takers for the number 5 pick. If there weren't, I would have been okay with Dalton Knecht or Cody Williams, but Ron Holland,
the guy who can't shoot.
I just, it's the.
Where does he fit?
Do we want? I think Pistons up, and I've said this with the front office, they're kind of in delusion right now. I think they're still have shrines to 72-68 basketball games. And I'm not knocking those teams. I'm just not. It's just get shooting. The Boston Celtics, top 6, plus Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser could shoot the lights out. You know, Kyle, that's your team.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, bro. You guys already know who I wanted. Dalton Knecht. You're talking about the guy who proved his shooting on the 6.5 3-point attempts per game, shooting over 40% from behind the arc. With the deal like this, with the draft pick like this, I wonder if this is just prioritizing the defense that Ron Holland brings to the table. Like I said, I don't want to dismiss Ron Holland as a player. He was in the top 10 of my big board. I just felt like you could have gotten better value if you wanted him as a player to trade back. But he does bring some defense and some instincts to the table that is sorely lacking and missing from the squad. But we could have said the same thing about Asar Thompson last year too, and we see how that wound up. Now, is he a much more fluid and skilled offensive player than Asar Thompson? Yes. Can he get to the rim? Can he score? Yes, he can. Can he get to the free throw line? He can get to the free throw line. But when you're talking about the types of players that you want around Cade Cunningham, from the most experienced to the most elite to the most professional, down to the season ticket holder to even the casual fan, everybody knows it, and they were all said in unison, you got to get shooters around Cade Cunningham. So I just don't quite understand this being really your first personnel move in the era of the Trajan Langdon. You're bringing in Dennis Lindsey. You got people excited about the front office. This is a situation where it's like, you know what? You can't just crush it right now, but you do want to hope is that they've gotten something right with this pick, because as it sits right now, I don't understand it.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at with it, is like, I almost feel stupid looking back at this in hindsight now, because what GM with a top 5 pick in a draft when they just got brought in wouldn't pick their guy first? What GM wouldn't do that? And I can't believe I ever entertained him trading this pick, because now when I look back with hindsight, it's so clear that a GM coming in is going to want to be able to make his imprint on a roster right away. And how better do you do that than a top 5 pick? So I think
that's
10
something. Player in the top 5 though. Like that's just
no. I'm not. I'm not disparaging his value. Nothing. I'm not speaking on that part of it. I'm speaking on this had to be Trajan's guy. That had to be the reason why this draft selection was made. So
hey, look,
I think if he's Herb Jones, that's another story for another day. But I don't think Ron Holland is Herb Jones.
Yeah, and I see Ball Out in the chat. He said, "Bro, can y'all relax? None of us know ish. To be honest, it's not about what any of us know. We just sat through a whole entire regime where I did say trust in Troy Weaver. A lot of the draft picks, they look good on the surface, but when everything kind of hit the ceiling, it was effectively them wetting the bed."
Well, that was that, and I didn't mean to interrupt, but that was the problem. That's why I think I can be upset about the Ron Holland pick, because we saw them do this twice. Get like defense first, offense be damned. They did it with Killian Hayes, and they did it with Asar Thompson. And for the record, even Jaden Ivey seems like an awkward fit. And the thing is, there's some things that all of those guys do well, including Killian Hayes. I did that for you, Detroit Supremacy, by the way. But seriously, even Killian Hayes. But all of that led into this terrible, terrible stew, which culminated in the worst season in Pistons history. I'm not saying it was all the draft picks' fault, but a lot of those guys did things well, but none of them can shoot, and they just don't fit. And Ron Holland, I think, he's just, you might call him Ron Hayes or Killian Holland, or Asar Holland, Ron Thompson.
Listen, Charlotte has moved up, or the pick is in right now for number 6. It's your guy, Easy.
Oh, salute.
There you go.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
Do we know what the package
and
was?
who got him? Charlotte.
They
kept the pick, so they didn't trade for Cleveland.
Well, I don't know if they're selecting for it and then trading.
They're not doing that. They're not doing that for Memphis.
The Klingon hype, man. That's crazy.
I never believe. I was telling you guys.
I didn't either. When a guy who I projected his ceiling to be Zubac, which is fine, but like that doesn't get you excited if you're if you're an NBA team drafting. No, I think this signals because look, since this stream has started, from Detroit Pistons fans' perspective, things have not gone the way you want. You didn't trade the pick back. You took a player that you weren't necessarily expecting, and Nick Claxton, a potential high free agent target for you, came off the board. So what does this tell you?
No, G.
This tells me if you want to put the glass half full, Trajan is going to be able to get them bad contracts because ain't no free agents coming here.
Yeah.
So if ain't no free agents coming here, you got to use that cap space somehow. You're gonna take on bad contracts. You're gonna get assets, and you know what? I think this is a slower rebuild than we thought. And that's what I said for weeks, man. You got to tear this down to the studs. Look what the Lions did. You have a good franchise in your backyard that you saw what they did. It got ugly before it got pretty. If you do that way.
I want to respond to that, but Woj did clarify that actually Charlotte is going to keep their pick now, and they're focused on developing us more.
What about this? A comment from Neil Rule in the chat. The Golden Voice. He says, you guys are asking the wrong questions. Here's what it boils down to. Ron Holland or Jaden Ivey. Interpret as you please.
Wait, what is...
I don't know. That's all he
Neil's
wants.
damn good at his job, I'll tell you that.
Right. I mean,
what is a player that is 6'3"?
They definitely play different positions. I wonder what this does more or less to a player like an Asar Thompson, really, because they play the same position. Neither one of them can really shoot the ball from behind the arc, but Ron Holland probably he definitely has the better offensive game. But I feel like Trajan Langdon, he stepped into this thing when it was already kind of torn down to the studs already. Like the work that was done even before Troy Weaver got here, when they got rid of Blake Griffin, they got rid of Andre Drummond before Troy Weaver, got Troy in here and got rid of even more people. Yeah. This thing was torn down to the studs. Trajan has walked in now to $65 million in cap space,
clean cap.
Young players that you can trade, a top 5 draft pick.
Yeah.
Cade Cunningham as your starting player. Think about what Troy Weaver started with.
Oh yeah, no.
Versus with Trajan Langdon, it's like it's already down to the studs. I was expecting him to, and maybe this is his vision. Maybe he believes that all they have to kind of fix with Ron Holland, who is going to give you some athleticism, he's going to give you some hot flying ability. Maybe they feel like all they have to do is affect or fix his shooting, and maybe Fred Vincent can play some role in that. But
what? Yeah, Vincent. What's his name? Fred Vincent.
Fred Vincent.
Get to work, buddy. Get to work. That man is working. Hey, man. This man gets every bonus in his contract. He gets every bonus in his contract. You know, he gets an annual 12% salary raise. All of that because you are doing a lot of work between Asar, Ron Holland. Hey, man, you are going to be working hard. No 40-hour work weeks for you, buddy.
And
you're going to be working.
Let me answer Neil Rule's question, by the way, because I thought it was done a little bit in bad faith. The problem with me is that Ron Holland or Jaden Ivey, neither. That's what. Like, make the Dalton Connect pick if you're going to make the pick. Make the Cody Williams pick. And I get it. I may look foolish in a couple of years. Who knows? Who knows how it'll age? But right now, given the evidence that I have to go on, given that I feel like I saw the same movie with Asar Thompson and Killian Hayes, I don't like it. And I'm not too high on Ivy right now either. So my preference is neither, not having to like make a hypothetical choice between one or the other. That's like Sophie's choice.
Yeah, for me, it's like I don't hate Ron Holland as a draft pick at all. I just wonder if the Detroit Pistons could have traded back and picked up Ron Holland a little bit later, as well as afforded themselves some more assets in the process. So it's like, but as it relates to the fit, I think all of us in here unanimously wanted somebody that could shoot the ball. That to me, so it's like, do any of us know how this is going to work? No, we don't. Right now, as the stats sit, this is not necessarily a fit for the Detroit Pistons. We've seen this before. We've seen this already. When we brought in Asar Thompson, a lot of us said, and you know, we saw the switch as well when they tried to bring in a more offensive-minded wing and Bojan Bogdanovic, and then the defense suffered. Maybe they see some shades of more athletic type of Jeremy Grant and Ron Holland. Somebody who's going to be your 3-and-D, your two-way player, I'll say. A little less your 3-and-D, a lot more of your two-way type player who can, because he's aggressive at getting downhill, attacking the rim, attacking the basket. Things still that the Detroit Pistons didn't have from like an ISO type of a player on a consistent basis. We all know about Jaden Ivey getting to the rim. The only comparison that we could probably make is as it relates to Jaden Ivey getting to the rim, Ron Holland can get to the rim, but Ron Holland finishes at a much higher clip and a much better and more consistent clip. But that wasn't a G League. This is Jaden Ivey in the NBA.
Yeah.
But the measurables are there. We talk about liking a Cody Williams who shot under 2 threes a game but had 40%. But you're talking about a guy who's under 180 pounds, 6'7". Ron Holland is 6'8" and 208 pounds. He's a volume scorer. He shot almost 50% from the field. Just those three-pointers is kind of what makes me a little bit hesitant with the fit.
Everybody want Mateus. This is more fluid version of him.
Yeah.
So real quick, Dante151 in the chat, $10 super chat.
Shout out.
Shout out to Dante.
Big shout out, man. I think the Pistons wanted to trade the pick, but what teams were going to give up wasn't enough for the Pistons to accept it. Also, does this spell the end of Stewart as a Piston?
That's an interesting one. It depends on how they
question.
see Ron Holland. If they see Ron as a 4, then maybe. But Stu, he's already been interested. I mean, been brought up in rumors.
Yeah.
He's already been brought up in rumors.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, does this, I mean, further the question beyond Stu, what does this mean for all of the young players? Because how many young players are you going to put in a rotation? Like, you know, this Pistons team has a lot of young players. And, you know, I'm also wondering, too, the other part of it is with this draft being, we just saw those last 2 picks, and what were both of those picks? Those were upside picks. Yeah. Those were potential picks. I think that speaks to everyone in this draft. The smokescreen was take Donovan Clingan, take these guys that are safe, take these guys that you know what they are, and instead teams are swinging for the fences with Ron Holland, with Tijon. So
yep, and we do got the number 7 pick in actually. Donovan Clingan to the Portland Trailblazers at 7. Wow. So he does go top 10.
They love the 7-2 white boys.
Yeah, but you know what, though? No teams, though, so far have traded up, though, to be able to get some of those players.
Yeah.
So maybe those values were just a little bit overstated as it related to what the Pistons might have done, which speaks to your point as well. Yeah. The deal probably just wasn't there. But if you know that you're passing up on a guy like a Dalton Connect, who most people, even people who didn't believe that he deserved to be picked in the top 5 or even the top 10, most people believe that Dalton Connect would step in day one and help any NBA lineup.
Yeah.
So if you're picking a Ron Holland and the Detroit Pistons already know all of this information, they have to have high hopes. When you're picking in that top 5, you're trying to take a swing at a player that you believe they can exceed the potential of other players in this draft who might be able to step in day one. There are some guys who can step in day one and can help you. But Ron Holland, do you believe that there's some aspect of something there that he can give you a little bit more? He played in the G League, so he kind of already knows the system. He's played against some NBA players as well. He put up a lot of volume shots. Is the outside shooting the only thing that makes this pick something that we kind of are down on? Or do you believe this is a guy that has a lot more upside than we're kind of giving it credit for?
I think the size has got to concern you too, right? Like anybody that I can post up and have a weight advantage on, I think you gotta reevaluate. You gotta make some decisions. But no, I think he has pieces, but I just feel like this is what we've been saying with every pick for the last 6 years. And yeah, you want something to be different because, you know, it's a new regime, but again, I think this is a signal that Langdon wanted his guy. He identified this as his guy. He was going to take the swing, and now I think this puts the chess pieces on the board of Ivy, of Duran, of Asar, of Stewart. All of these guys, I think, are now a lot more available than they were a half hour ago, because I just don't see a world in which you're bringing 6-7 guys in a 10-man rotation that are under 23 years old, unless you really do want to go tank one more year. And that's something Pistons fans do not want to hear. They want to get better right now, but maybe that's the play.
That's an interesting pick because that's the first question is fit. You know, people are already wondering what happens with a guy like a Stewart. Who is this actually blocking? Like an Asar Thompson potentially. Because that's where we've been talking about the fit of this team and the way they've been constructed. And one of the things that I continue to think about, and we talked about it as well, is these players that are currently here are not Trajan Langdon's players.
Yeah.
So maybe this is him saying, you know what, that's more the type of player and the DNA that I like, and that this is something that we're going to have to see a little bit more of when this thing gets to the hardwood. So
crazy comment. LNW. Said,
Oh, you put it up there?
Broder, tell that boy in the Tatum jersey that Holland and Asar are locking up Tatum and Brown in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay.
Detroit.
Sam is not amused.
Yeah.
No, and we were kind of mentioning it earlier, and you brought up the question, is the three-point shooting the main issue? Yes, I will be fully transparent that that's the main issue with me and Ron Holland, but I would counter that with, as we've saw, and this is a stat that I've given on all of the shows, but I'm going to give it again to people who are watching this, and even if guys like Travis and Kyle haven't heard it, or Chris Platty, the top 18 teams in the NBA in three-point shooting all were either playoff or play-in teams. And we saw, obviously, what happened with the Boston Celtics, how they were able to construct a lineup with guys who can shoot the three and defend, and obviously guys like Tatum and Brown had greater skill sets. We all know that, and Kristaps Porzingis with rim protecting. It's just that in the modern NBA, you need more three-point shooting. And if you added 10 percentage points to Ron Holland's three-point percentage in the G League, it's still a bad three-point percentage. It's not bad, it's morbid. And for the record, this is to me a little bit of like, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Last season when the Pistons drafted Asar Thompson, it wasn't my favorite pick. And for the record, I'm not saying Asar Thompson is bad, but his three-point shooting is awful. You saw what he did in the G League in the regular season in terms of three-point shooting, or overtime elite. It was overtime elite. And it was really, really bad. But I kind of talked myself into it because you saw Asar Thompson in the playoffs and overtime and elite, and I'm like, oh, that three-point percentage kind of looks kind of good. You could do the same thing with Killian Hayes. His international career three-point percentage was bad, but his stint in the Euro Cup, that was actually pretty good. I can kind of talk myself into it. But what happened when they actually came to the league? Could not hit the broadside of a barn with a beach ball. That concerns me with Ron Holland. And in the modern NBA, I think that is the difference between a good pick and a bad pick, or at least it can be.
Flannel, do you think, this is from Detroit Supremacy,
do
you think, it's not that bad, it's actually kind of funny. Do you think we'll ever get free Wingstop again?
Well, we once had a great Wing Snob. Hey, shout out Wing Snob.
Yeah, shout out
Wing Snob. That was a former sponsor. If you want to come back, talk to Brady Wood. Bring us some wings. Just saying.
Shout out.
I say we bring Brandon Ingram to Detroit, get the Boneless Thugs and Harmony out there on the floor, and we start rolling.
Man, I wonder what this means for the Detroit Pistons overall. Like, because how do you run, a Ron Holland and an Asar Thompson together?
I think they run their organization like I run my love life, based off potential, not in reality.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough, man. I mean, you're taking so many swings, and I said this earlier in the show, that my issue with it is it's okay to draft it for potential if you're Golden State Warriors, if you're Miami, those teams that have culture in place and talent in place and coaching in place, all the key pieces. A player can't necessarily thrive if they're in a situation where it's just a free-for-all. Yeah. So, I don't know.
And we got the number 8 pick in, and then I'll go to UKG. It is Rob Dillingham to San Antonio.
Wow. Hey, Matas fell.
That is Castle and Rob Dillingham for this.
That is a great pick.
Minnesota.
You think the trade is going?
Is it?
No, I think the trade's the pick's getting traded.
Oh,
yeah, that's the rumor.
Oh, where? Minnesota? Whoa. What are they giving up?
Edwards?
Cat and Wemby?
Stop it. Says he could be on the move to Minnesota.
Okay, so I'll reserve my right, because I actually think that would have been a good pick for San Antonio, but it might not go to San Antonio.
Hey, Cat and Wemby would be wild, though.
Yeah.
That would be nuts.
Are the Pistons done making moves? Like, is there any reason to try to get back into this draft?
Cody Williams is on the board. Dalton Connect's on the board.
I think there's definitely reasons to get back into this. We've seen Troy Weaver do this in 3 of his 4 drafts, to trade back into that first round and be able to get players like Jalen Duren, Marcus Sasser, who else? Marcus Sasser, Jalen Duren. There was somebody else that he picked. Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart. Those are the players that he traded back into the first round to be able to pick up. It'd be interesting to see if Lindsey, and Trajan Langdon, who are renowned for their scouting capabilities, see some players that they like, and if they have the ability to be able to kind of get those players as well, the assets.
Do you?
So Trajan isn't ignorant to the shooting problem. He mentioned it in his press conference that he wanted to have a focus on spacing the floor and things of that nature. So we know it wasn't a lot of great shooters in this draft, just period. Do you think he's maybe trying to take the, okay, I'm going to go get a more established shooters route or more veteran shooters route? Because
rather than projected,
rather than rely on the young guys for the shooting.
But even if they're going to go and target that, the thing right now that I'm looking at is the Pistons instantly now have 3 or 4 wings, like 3 players. You got Simone Fontecchio, you have Ron Holland, you have Asar Thompson. So there's a log jam there.
Yeah, it is.
Something has to happen. So my mindset goes
gotta make room for Tobias.
What else might happen tonight if they go out and sign Tobias Harris?
Yeah.
Like there's a log jam because I thought that was one of the pieces that they need to be able to go out and be able to sign a star to. That wing 3-4 kind of hybrid type player. If they're still targeting that in free agency, if you go out there, you get a Brandon Ingram or you get a Jeremy Grant, and you get any of these guys that they've been rumored after, a Najee Marshall, where are these guys playing? So I assume that maybe they're going to do something with this log jam themselves. That's what I'm hoping. I don't want to see like any of these young players go, but obviously none of them are untouchable. You got to move this thing forward.
I think if you're looking at the board right now, we have these prospects that we all said we like them, but we're not as high on them as the current homegrown talent that you got in Ivy, Duran, Asar. So you're looking at teams that could potentially be shedding that first to get off bad contracts, right? So you're looking at Chicago at 11 with Zach LaVine or Lonzo Ball. You're looking at Oklahoma City Thunder at 12. Do they think Isaiah Stewart is a guy? Like we talk about them needing a backup 5. Do they want to keep with the 5 out that they run with Chet and just go with a smaller, version of that in Stewart?
Yeah.
Like that makes some sense there. So those are some teams you're looking at.
Memphis at 9. Breaking news. Woj is reporting.
What? Oh my God.
Memphis is going to select. Y'all ready for this?
Okay.
Y'all ready? You might need the 4cam for this one.
Oh
bro.
boy, I think I know who it is.
Oh man.
Must be Bronny.
Zach Edey.
Damn, they wanted a
No
big man.
wonder-
Let's see if
Huh?
he winds up being
They
that,
wanted
but
a
that's
big
what
man.
Woj
No
said.
wonder they draft.
Zach Edey to
job,
Memphis.
Crazy.
Damn.
Wait, hold on. Easy.
That's like
Easy.
the
You gotta
Broncos
pull up
signing
the
Russ
tape.
after they tried to get A-Rod, man. Oh my
Shams is
God.
saying it as well.
Did
Zach
it
Edey at number 9.
They wanted a big
Spencer
man.
Wow. Zach Edey at 9?
That's crazy, man.
David Klingen, we're coming for you, pussy.
Hey, listen, man.
Oh,
Didn't Spencer say something like there's no chance Edie's top 10? I know he said not to the Pistons, but didn't he say something like top 10?
Shave his eyebrows.
Wait.
Oh,
Hold on.
shit.
Wait, if he was top 10 or if he went to the Pistons?
Hold on.
We gotta run tape.
Was it the real Woj?
He said something crazy about Edie.
Y'all gotta see. Did you guys see the trade?
No wonder they wanted to offer 7 picks for Donovan.
Dillingham
Damn.
to-
They
You saw the-
desperately wanted a center.
I'll mute them if you want me to.
No, I was gonna say that the trade information is coming in for the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Spurs. They traded a 2031 unprotected first rounder and a 2030 pick swap to the Spurs for Rob Dillingham.
That's it.
I mean, those are far out picks, though.
Far out, dude.
Far out.
Like,
Far out, bro.
That's awesome for San Antonio. I'll tell you that. That's a
what I'm
home run.
saying, like,
They got Atlanta. They got Atlanta draft stock. They got Charlotte draft stock. They got their own draft stock. They got Minnesota's draft stock now. 7 years. Oh, where are you going to be in 7 years from now? You don't know the answer. So how the hell can you say anybody on Minnesota knows? Like, yeah, I think that's
I mean,
awesome.
seeing how this draft board is going now, it's like the first 4 picks. I don't think anybody was surprised at.
Yeah.
Then you get to pick 5 and after, and everything is starting to be like, whoa, what's going on here? And it's, you know what, for me personally, welcome to Detroit, Ron Holland. We definitely want to see you be able to exceed expectation. We want to see, you were taken in the top 5. We want to see that type of potential and that ceiling and what that represents. We want to see you see that come to fruition here in Detroit. We're a hungry fan base, man. We're hungry media members. We're hungry people here in Detroit, and we want to see our Pistons back on top, man. We need, you talking about Woodward Avenue, the legendary Woodward Avenue. All 4 sports teams, we talk about it often, play right there. The only sports town in America like that, man. We need April and the D back. And imagine how exciting a time like now would be if we were like the Lions, man. Think about it like the Lions, how we were like, yo, there's no stress with this draft. They're not picking anywhere near the top. I wouldn't mind if this draft would have rolled around and the Pistons is picking like 20th and we can just sit back and talk about the fact that they've dug themselves out of a hole that they've been in for almost a decade and a half. So Ron, listen, man, good luck to you. Look forward to everything that you're going to bring to the table. You are the first selection in the Trajan Langdon era. I'm hoping that goes a lot better than the first selection during the previous regime.
Can I just say something to Ron Holland? And I'm gonna try to extend an olive branch right here. Everybody knows everybody in this room, everybody in the chat. Every single time I've gotten anything wrong, you guys clown me more mercilessly than anybody at this network combined. Ron Holland, make everybody in this room clown me someday. Make everybody in the chat clown me someday. Make me look like the stupidest motherfucker who ever walked, the most reactionary motherfucker who ever walked, because that's what I want. I was unhappy with the pick that was made. Yes, I was. But Ron Holland, now that you're a Piston, make me look like an idiot.
Yeah,
a lot of people have.
And I saw, I just lost it in the chat that's there. They said, are we going to, here, Tiger Town, we're going to sit here and say, wow, that Ron Holland guy was a great pick. We don't know if it's a great pick right now.
Yeah.
Right now, we're saying that we know that Trajan Langdon and everything that he in this current front office has been built to be is that these guys can identify talent. That's what we've been told. We've seen the other teams that they've been associated with, and they've been able to go and pick players in these types of ranges, go out there and kind of find those sleepers. And so it's like, from that perspective, I kind of like it. Number 10, Utah is picking Cody Williams.
Damn it.
Shut up.
That's a great pick for them. They got two guys that were high on my board for Pistons in back-to-back drafts, Taylor Hendricks and Cody Williams. So
Easy.
Shout out to Easy.
Hey, man, say what up to the people before you take off.
Smash that like button. Like Edie's going to smash Donovan Clingan.
That's crazy how you guys. That's crazy.
Also, Holland's a lot better. He's more fluid of an athlete than I think he's given credit for. Where I truly think a Fred Vincent can kind of fix his shot. Like, you watch his highlights, he's got a few step backs. He's quick off the dribble. I'm just glad it's not Mateus Belez, whatever you say his last name is. I'm just glad it's not. This is a better version of him, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
feel like he's got a shot you can work with. I'm being honest about that too. And I am. If you know I've had something bad to say, I'll say it.
Yeah.
I'm glad to pick Jordan Love or Jared Goff this time. I think this kid. I think he got something you can work with. He's a very fluid athlete.
And that's why I asked the question: is it just the 3-point shooting that concerns us? Because when you look at everything else across the board, the guy's putting up 3.2, 3.3 stocks per game from the small forward position. He's a volume scorer, can score good, getting into the paint, getting to the rim. He looks like a hooper. It just looks like. Let me put it this way. The excuses that we hear them give Matas Buzelis, everyone is saying, you know what? He's going to figure it out when he gets to the NBA. He has a good shot. We've seen him shoot good before in the past. Ron Holland, for some reason, does not get that same type of pass. So it's like, if the shot is the only thing that we're kind of wincing at with Ron Holland, just because we've been so void of shooting around Cade, then I am okay with the pick. I really am. My concerns, yes, shooting is going to be a big concern, but could you have traded back and gotten him later on in the first round? Probably. Who knows? We don't know. Seeing how things are going right now, it looks like these draft picks are actually valued a lot less than any of us thought that they would be. Rob Dillingham for a future. We're talking about 2031 unprotected first and a pick swap in 2030, I believe. For Rob Dillingham, it's just like that. It's just top one protected for the pick swap as well.
And
that shows that the value might be a little lower than we thought.
Yeah, the chat's not like horribly upset, at least from the votes. We got 31% a B, 30% C, 24% a D, and 15% A. So it's not like it's all D's. And I think there were so many kids in this draft, like so many 18 and 19-year-olds. There's so much we don't know about them, and so much we don't know the projection of some of these. The fact that Ron Holland, his skill set currently doesn't have what we all thought the Pistons need. He's not a shooter yet. And you might have been able to get more assets or a player by moving back. It's hard to. That's why our reactions initially are like, man.
Yeah, it wasn't about him, the player. It was about the situation overall.
Yeah.
Especially with everything that had been rumored up to this point. If you can trade back and get a couple more assets, put yourself in position to say, you know what, we can go out here and get 2 players in this draft. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
With the situation being this, and with Ron Holland being a player that not too many people thought was worthy of a top 5 pick, that's just kind of what makes you go, let's just pause and see what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
And like we said initially, it's about the situation overall, not the player
I
himself.
think
because I actually like Ron Holland.
I think yeah, and I did like him too early on in the draft process, and I'm not just changing my tone here, but I did like obviously all the flashes of potential that you see. Again, I just don't think Detroit is a situation where you can maximize potential. I think if you have a better roster, a better developmental staff, and hopefully that's what this new regime is bringing along with Ron Holland.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that's what they're bringing, because if that's the case, then maybe you can see this guy maximize his potential here. But the past, it hasn't been allowed. And one thing I want to say too about taking your guy in this draft is we talked about several rumors. We talked about a whole bunch of teams trading, Portland trading, us trading, everybody trading, and ultimately there hasn't been that many trades in the draft so far, not nearly as many as we thought, and the ones that came are ones that we didn't expect. So I'm looking at this draft as, you know what, maybe he identified Ron Holland as that guy, and could you have got him at 10th in the mock? Yeah. But did anybody see Zach Edey going 9th? No. Like, this draft was unpredictable, so maybe he just didn't feel comfortable trading back because he didn't know when and where his guy was going to get selected. Because a top 10 pick could have been, Mataz was projected 5th, and he's still on the board right now. So
is Connect.
I think you're looking at you're looking at a draft where everybody was uncertain, and so you either did one of two things: you either took your guy or you swung for the fences. And we saw that back-to-back picks with Detroit and Charlotte. So I think that's what it is.
We got number 11 pick is in. We got Modest Buzelis to the Chicago Bulls.
Makes sense for Chicago. I think they need an upside swing.
Yeah,
I think they need an upside swing. I think they're a dumpster fire waiting to happen.
Yep.
So
they're gonna.
But Buzelis
terribly
falls to 10, and Ron Holland is the one that's selected at 5.
Surprising.
And you know what? There's a lot of people who believe that Modest Buzelis, who has connections to the Arn Tellem camp, they thought that might be the selection. So it's interesting to see Ron Holland be the guy. He fits the traits that Trajan Langdon said he's looking for in a player. And at the press conference and in some of the media scrums, he fits at least the description of what he said he would do. So up to this point, at least he's doing that. I can't cry about it too much. People, if they would have taken Cody Williams at 5, people would have been really, really happy with that. But I think just as much as we like some things that Cody Williams brings to the table, there's a lot as well that's like, you know what? I don't know how much he would have been able to step in and contribute right away.
No, and for the record, do you mind if I digress for just about 30 seconds?
No. Go for it.
And Broder, you're going to appreciate this.
Oh, thank you.
We got to give Matthew Kruger his flowers.
Yeah, hell yeah.
We do. We do. Because here's the reality of the situation. He was a big Zach Edey guy.
He was.
Zach Edey could end up being horrible in the NBA. But the fact that he was a top 10 pick, that's a win for Zach Edey, and that's a win for Zach Edey fans. And for the record, I'm kind of excited to see Spenny and Neil tomorrow when it comes to Zach Edey, because I actually respect what he did his last year at Purdue. The fact that they didn't go out in the first round like they did the year before, and they got to the championship game. And you know this. We all know this. Spenny and Neil never admit when they're wrong. Ever.
I was told that he was a top. I was told that he is not a top 10 draft pick. I was told he was going to be a bust. I can see it right now. Neil's body's going to be angled like this for about 14 minutes, just looking at Spencer, just saying, I was told.
Hey, but I was told. But I'm going to put that energy right back at Neil. People like Neil and Spenny acted like Zach Edey was going to be like a UFA or something. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. So,
look,
shout out Zach Edey.
He looked good in the tournament, especially.
He did.
But this is going to be an interesting thing, man. Like I said, after like that first 4 picks, this draft just kind of went in a way that a lot of people didn't think it would. So it's going to be interesting to see how these picks, how these GMs wind up looking, especially obviously here in Detroit. We're wondering how Trajan Langdon is going to make out with this Ron Holland pick and what this means overall for the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's throw those phone lines open.
Yeah.
Looks like we already got one, right?
Matt Kruger.
Oh, 913-552-6322.
Oh, my favorite.
Hey, Matt Kruger, just remember, man, we've had our battles. Who was the first one to give you flowers openly? It was me. Just remember that, Matthew Kruger. Just remember that.
You on, Matt? What's up?
Hey, I hear you, Mr. Kruger. What up, though?
Hey, I was running out the truck real quick there for a minute. I missed who the ninth pick was that went to Memphis. Who was that?
Zach
Nobody.
Edey.
Nobody. They didn't pick anybody.
Zach Edey.
Oh, they missed the pick. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, what the heck's going on? I thought we needed shooters on this team. Who are we drafting here? Why are we drafting minor league G League players? What is the problem?
I mean, I don't think it's about G League players because that's the route that a lot of guys take now. But yeah, I agree with you. I would have preferred somebody who could shoot. Like at that, I'll keep saying it. At that pick, I would have taken Dalton Connect or Cody Williams personally. We'll see how it plays out.
Still on the board. You could go get him right now from OKC.
Then I'm feeling a lot better.
Tear this thing all the way down. Let's trade Cade and get 2 or 3 picks in the first round here. How about it?
We are not trading Cade.
Yeah, it's all right.
No.
Was that stick?
Oh, Kruger. Yeah, of course it's Kruger. Ultimate Cade hater, baby.
So next move is going to getting James Harden, right, Kruger?
Yeah, we might as well. We just drafted Roy Holland, whoever the hell that is.
Roy Holland.
One assist a game, 1 rebound a game, 1 steal a game. Dude. I love you guys. Great draft show. I'll talk to you later.
No, Matthew Kruger.
Thank you for calling in, brother.
I'll give him credit. He did kind of like the Mike Valeni thing where he'll call everyone Bob. Like he called Kindle like Bob Vildor or somebody like that. He did that with like Roy Holland. So shout out. That was fun. That always makes me laugh.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, man. Good call.
Roy Holland, Emerald IC 7 Zebby, Roy Holland with like a laugh. That was funny. I'll give you that.
But yeah, 313-552-6322 is that WSN call-in number. Call in, let's get your reaction to the Pistons pick right now. I want to know as well, what do you guys think this means for the Detroit Pistons? Because when you're just looking at it as a fit for this roster, they have kind of a log jam on that wing. I don't know necessarily how they're going to shuffle their wing players, if they're going to be able to play some of these guys together. But right now, as it stands, Simone Fontecchio is the only one of the wings that can actually shoot the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see how they pair these guys up. Now you do have a couple good wing defenders. And I just wonder how they value this stuff. You know, if Ron Holland's the guy that they're looking at, is he going to start? Is this a depth piece off of the bench? Is this a guy that they think, you know what, he played in the G League. He kind of understands this game right now. We talk about Dalton Connect, who can step in right away as a 23-year-old, a little bit more mature body, a little bit more mature game. Is Ron Holland that type of guy for the Detroit Pistons to be able to step in and make an impact for this Pistons team? What's up, Justin?
I think to an extent, yes. Because, I mean, the one thing that has the major upside is he is a freak athlete. He can jump out of the gym. He can run up and down the floor. And the shot definitely has to be concerning. I said on Woo that, it's 33% to get into the club, because we need some damn shooting on this team. But I'm excited, I guess. I mean, he's probably going to be fun to watch. And Trajan Langdon took Herb Jones, and they're pretty similar players, so hopefully it ends up working out.
Hey, you're changing your criteria. You said 33%. You can add 10 to Ron Holland's 3-point percentage, and it would barely be over 33%. I'm just saying. I know you're trying to look on the bright side, and I don't blame you.
I'm trying to be an optimist. Yeah. I am too negative a lot of the time. So
no. Hey, and like I said before, and I'll probably say it on tomorrow's shows as well, Ron Holland, make me look foolish, please. I beg of you.
He has a lot to like, man. He really does. I think that motor on defense and kind of on offense, ability to just kind of always be in go mode is what makes Ron Holland the pick here. If the thing is this, you fix his 3-point shooting, you have a pretty good player here, then where does that put his potential over any of these other players that we saw play in college or play overseas? Where does that put Ron Holland's potential, who played in probably the tougher league out of all of the other draft picks, and that's the G League? Obviously, Montes Buzelis was there. We saw some of these other players, they hit the G League, their shooting suffered, but their overall game suffered. Ron Holland is a guy whose overall game, everything else looks good. It's that 3-point shooting, man, that continues to kind of stick out for me. But I feel like there is a player there. His athleticism is something that in the NBA just completely opens up for him. We see with Jaden Ivey, even when he's able to kind of hit that middle of the paint, it's like a trampoline for him. Is Ron Holland this type of guy? Because I'm trying to see exactly how this pick fits, what this pick is as it relates to what we already have on the roster. Because I'm not seeing it, except for the fact that maybe there's more moves that have to come down the pipeline for these Detroit Pistons. And I don't see them moving on from Simone Fontecchio, who Simone sat at the exit interviews and said, I want to be in Detroit. We've already been talking. I know my agent in the organization, blah, blah, blah. Kay Cunningham is going to be here. What's good, brother? We got some more news.
The 12th pick is in if you'd like to announce it.
Hey, We got what? Nikola Topic at, is that how you say his name? I think is it Topic?
Topic.
Yeah. Nikola Topic at number 12 to OKC.
I ain't mad. That's a potential upswing. Look, OKC's got a lot of young guys, and again, that's a situation where they're playing winning basketball, so they can afford to take a shot. And that player's going to come into a much more favorable situation than some of these other organizations. So, to me, I'm never mad at taking a shot. What's up, KG?
So, this may be a dumb question, but is Dalton Connect a good enough shooter to where you consider moving back up? Because he's still on the board.
Yeah.
I would.
Yes. I said at 12, man, I thought OKC would really value a guy like Stewart, because Stewart got calls from teams like Boston, contending teams. Yeah. And we saw how big frontline depth was a storyline for OKC. So I thought that was a match made in heaven, where you don't want to trade future picks to get back into this draft, because you do already have so many young guys.
Right.
You would like to trade one of your young guys to get back in this draft. But again, if we thought Ivy was the first, second, or third pick in this draft, you're not trading Ivy for pick 13 in this draft.
Yeah,
you're not trading Duren for pick 13 in this draft. Like, those are guys that are off the table to me. Asar, I would put in that same boat as that. So I think if you're trading a young guy, you're probably looking at trading Stewart if they're being traded right now tonight for another draft selection. But Dalton Connect is a guy, I'd look at. Again, especially that front court is a little crowded now, like you said, with all those wings and those bigs. I'd really, really consider that.
Yeah, I'm looking at Dalton Connect because, like I said, out of any of the other supposed three-point shooters in this draft, including the ones that have higher percentages, none of them shot as many threes per game as Dalton Connect. 6.5 threes per game and almost 22 points per game scored. This guy was a bucket, and the types of defenses that you see ran against him, and he was still able to get his threes off. Dalton Connect is one of those guys. I'm like, if you have the assets to go up there and get him, get him. If Rob Dillingham only required a couple future down the road first-round picks, one first-round pick and then a pick swap, Dalton Connect further down in this draft, I wouldn't assume that it would take too much to be able to climb back up and grab a Connect and kind of give you this vision that Broder was talking about with Fontecchio on one wing and Dalton Connect on another wing and Cade Cunningham dribbling the ball down the court.
Well, why do you think he's falling? Because not easy, but Spinny earlier on Big D, he was saying that Dalton Connect's defense is so bad that he wouldn't want to draft a Dalton Connect, even though he has such a value trait. If he has such a value trait like three-point shooting in this league, why is he falling?
I don't think that he's necessarily falling. He's a guy that I value, so I put him at 5 on my big board. Yeah. But Dalton Connect has always been a guy that people thought you could probably trade back to 10 or into the lottery and be able to select. And a lot of the reasons that I hear he's falling, his defense does need to improve, but he does have a motor. He does have instincts. He can be opportunistic. He can be a good team defender. He's not one of those guys that I've seen you're just going to blow by him. And in March Madness, he was a really good defender. He was a guy who you could depend on to step up and get stops, as well as still be an efficient scorer. Usually when you see those guys that are putting their all into the defense, usually their offensive game starts to suffer because you need your legs if you're a shooter. This is a guy who's proving that he's in the gym. We talk about a lot of these other kind of prospects who they're going to have to get their weight up. They're going to have to get strength and development up. Cody Williams can't necessarily stay healthy, probably because he's under 180, but he's trying to get to the rack. Dalton Connect is a guy who you didn't really see him get banged up that much. And he was getting to the rim. He was finishing through traffic, finishing through contact, hitting the threes, catch and shoot, dribble handoffs, behind our mid-range pick and roll. He's a basketball player. And so it's just like I don't buy the defense thing necessarily. Like, who was Bojan guarding?
Well, that's the thing. If you talk to people like Spenny, man, I'm saying a lot of shade. I'll see him tomorrow, though. Don't worry. I'm saying a lot to him. You would think that Dalton Connect as a defender was a homeless man's Bojan, and I don't buy that. I'm not saying he was great at defense. But he was all right. And like you said, he has a motor, and I think it's something that can improve. If you were to ask me why he's falling, maybe it's the lack of perceived ceiling, the fact that he's already 23. But one thing that I will say is if you want to take Zach Edey out of the equation, other than Zach Edey, who's a completely different kind of player, Dalton Knecht was the best offensive player in college basketball last year.
Yeah.
The best.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you nailed it right there. That's what I was going to say is the potential thing that I brought up earlier, right? You look at the swings that the Pistons made, the Hornets made, the Bulls made. Everybody's been making, just the Thunder just now, they've been taking the swing for the fences guys. And I think I think it speaks to Dalton Knecht's how they look at him as certain with a low ceiling.
Yeah.
And I think that's why teams are probably just group thinking, hey, in a bad draft, you know what? If nobody knows anything, let's just take the guy that we think has the highest ceiling and go from there. And a guy like Dalton Knecht, we can get in free agency. But yeah, I just don't see it because I like to compare him to Pat Connaughton in the way that, you know, he's aggressive on defense. He's not the greatest defender, but he does his job team defensively, like you said.
Yeah.
And he's got a high vertical. He's athletic, but really his athleticism is in his crazy vertical. So that reminds me a lot of Pat Connaughton. So, but the difference is though with him is that Dalton Knecht is a 3-level scorer. He's broken people down on the dribble in the mid range, gotten to his spots. He's taken a high volume of threes, as we mentioned, and finished at the rim. So while I don't think he's a 3-level scorer at the NBA, especially day one, do I look at guys like Duncan Robinson in the NBA that, you know what, if you just have good pieces around him, even just a big that can set a good screen like Bam does, and you can just work that 2-man game, you can be a defensive liability. But if you can do that, you're golden. So I just think his path is certain.
And what do you want out of an off-ball player next to Cade Cunningham? Not just the ability to shoot, but the ability to kind of read defenses and cut behind the defense when necessary.
Absolutely.
Does anybody want to take a guess at what Dalton Knecht's field goal percentage was off of cuts?
Oh, I looked this up too when I was watching tape on him, but I can't remember the number.
Just take a wild guess.
47%.
Way up.
I am going to go with 62%.
Way up.
We got the next draft pick.
I think it was 69.
Sacramento
80%.
That's that's unicorn.
Yeah. Sacramento is selecting Devin Carter at number 13.
All right, this is a different type of draft. Yeah.
Now, I thought Sacramento could have been a little cheap here and took Dalton Knecht and moved on from Herter and kind of just, kind of reset their books a little bit. That's what I would have thought about doing if I was Sacramento, but obviously I've been talking about Dalton Knecht for like 20 minutes now, so
that was the one trade we didn't get to in the trade scenarios earlier, is bringing Kevin Herter to Detroit.
Yeah.
But they went.
I think that's a guy to target.
Yeah, shooter, decent athleticism.
Yeah.
Is Knecht? Would you say like Mike Miller is a decent comp for a ceiling, or do you think he's got more potential than that?
Higher ceiling, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think.
I agree with that.
I don't know though, because Mike Miller had some dog years in Memphis, so I would say from a statistical perspective, no.
Okay.
But I think does he have more of a skill set than Mike Miller? Yes. I just don't think in today's NBA, like, he is a much better athlete. But Mike Miller back in his day, you didn't need to be the greatest athlete if you just had a great shot and feel for the game, and that's what he had. So I think Dalton Knecht has, individual wise, like if you were just putting 20-year-old Mike Miller versus 20-year-old Dalton Knecht, I think Dalton Knecht would actually win that game. But Mike Miller, statistically, I mean, he had some 20-point per game seasons in Memphis. So I don't ever see that for Dalton Knecht, even if he comes to
just to like interject really quick. That was one where I may have made like a quick split decision. Yeah. If Dalton Knecht becomes Mike Miller, that's a big win.
Yeah.
If you really look at what he did throughout his career, kind of in the beginning when he was one of the main guys, and then as you went on into his career with the Heat, when he helped him win a couple championships as a role player. Yeah. And Mike Miller, I just looked it up, for his career, 41% from three on 4 attempts.
He was a killer, man.
And he's got swag.
He was a killer.
Lots of them.
Yeah, he had a dog. He was a dog.
Shout out to Tim DePaulis. He says, Ron Holland is the biggest upside swing in this draft. 6'8", bucket getter with great defense. His shot is not broken. It needs improvement, but he is a lot further ahead than Asar on his offense. And that's kind of what we were echoing earlier, is that in terms of his offensive game overall, he is better than Asar Thompson. That's why my question is this pick an indictment on anybody on this current Pistons roster? I know that we brought up Stu. I do believe it's fair to bring up an Asar Thompson because these guys play the same position. I know that there was a point in time when they believed Asar might be able to also play the 2, but if he can't shoot that effectively, then that's where it gets a little bit hard to make that fit. But I know we got somebody on the phone.
Yeah, we got a couple people on the phone. First one, Dorian Garland out of North Dakota.
Wow.
Dorian Garland.
Shout out.
What's good, bro?
Hold up. Couldn't even say it right.
Hey. Yep. Yeah. Hey, how you guys doing today?
Good, man. How are you?
Man, thanks for calling. Thanks for
Good,
supporting as well.
Yeah, no worries, man. Big time listener. I always appreciate y'all's insight and stuff when it comes to Pistons and things like that. But like for you guys, I was definitely surprised by the pick. Everything that I think most of us was reading was either Connect or Bucelis or whatnot. But I mean, the more I kind of look into Ron Holland, more you can kind of see some of the appeal to it. You know, maybe he's someone like you guys mentioned about Asar. You know, he's someone who can definitely put the ball on the floor and to be able to attack the rim, which is something that, you know, whenever Asar tried to do that, it was always kind of waiting with bated breath because you could tell, you know, he was nervous and stuff. And, you know, with Holland, I think he'll be able to make some impact, I think, especially on the defensive end, you know, being someone who can definitely get after it, you know. But like I said, I think this is a first step probably in a series of moves. If we do get like another shooter, we could be looking more after for like veterans and things like that, you know, and trying to, you know, get that to work. But, you know, I'd be curious to see how him and Asar is going to work together. If Summer League was any indication, maybe Asar will be more of like a kind of like a glue piece playmaker, facilitator type of thing, you know, and be able to work off of Holland because he won't have to be the person who has to, you know, initiate the offense, which I think might actually help out Holland a lot more. Something right quick that I'm kind of looking forward to is the so-called Ron Holland versus Bucelis matchup, being that Bucelis went to Chicago. So I know that's going to probably be a very interesting matchup to see those two kind of go at it.
That's going to be interesting. And I do believe it hands down Ron Holland is the better player today over Modest Bucelis, and both of them playing in the G League. It kind of proved it as well. I saw the next pick was in.
Bub Carrington at number 14.
Providence?
Believe so.
Bub Carrington
at number 14.
Pitt. I did not have that on my bingo board.
Yeah.
He's from Pitt, by the way.
You are just making up names right now.
I swear, it's like
I'm Bub. At first I said Bud. It's Bub.
Yeah,
Bub.
His
real first name Carlton, by the way.
Carlton Bub.
Carlton Banks' office. Carlton Banks here.
Hey man, greatest show on earth.
Hey, speaking of which, JB Smooth, look what jersey he's got right now.
Yo, shut up, man. Show the people the jersey.
Greatest show on earth.
Hey,
I'm telling you.
Can we all agree on one thing? And I know, JB, you're wearing that jersey, so you're going to agree with me.
What's up?
Fuck Marcus Stokes.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Like
that fictional game broke my heart into pieces. Will's obviously the better player.
Yeah.
Flannel is the king of references.
He is.
Man.
He is.
What were we done with Dorian?
Isaiah Collier. I remember that was a name that was high. I can't believe how far he is.
Yeah, thanks for calling, Dorian, though. We appreciate you.
That was really good.
Oh,
insight.
Yeah, no, appreciate it, man. I appreciate you guys, man.
And he said something really interesting there as well. We've heard the Detroit Pistons talk about trying to reduce the usage rate of players like Jeremy Grant and Cade Cunningham in the past. And we've seen how when Jeremy Grant's usage rate actually went down, all of his efficiency went up. Ron Holland's a guy who had effectively the burden on him to carry the offensive load and the defensive load for his squad. If we see with a player like Cade Cunningham how having the highest defensive usage rate and offensive usage rate can affect a player like that, what is it going to do to a player like Ron Holland versus which Dorian made in his call, maybe coming here and not necessarily having to be that usage guy. You play Ron Holland to a little bit more of his strengths, and it gives him an opportunity to have less responsibility, think a little less, have a little less pressure, a little less stress, and just go out there and hoop, knowing that Cade Cunningham is going to open up the floor even more than what Ron Holland has ever had.
I mean, I can't buy that Kool-Aid because you know what? At the end of the day, yes, Cade Cunningham is great, but we've seen Cade Cunningham's greatness, minimized by what's around him, by lack of shooting. We saw it with Killian and Asar playing with him, and Duran and Stewart, who's kind of a shooter, who you kind of respect. I mean, Cade Cunningham was out there with not only some spacing, zero spacing. And so I think if you're putting Ron Holland in that same situation, unfortunately, Cade Cunningham, as good of a player as he is, can't accentuate those skill sets, those other skill sets that he brings to the table. And that's what I'm worried about with this roster and with this fit is I don't know if you have the right situation to maximize these players' potential. And that goes, on no indictment on Cade's part. That's about the situation. And I think it's just, it's tough. So I'm in wait and see mode when it comes to that. I like the skills, the tool set, everything that he has to offer.
Yeah.
I'm just not sold that it's the right fit.
Well, and that's what kind of worries me because you mentioned it with Ron Holland and maybe the not going to help the spacing and how they didn't have much last year, and that certainly hurt Cade and it certainly hurt the team. I'm worried because there are going to be people, but there are others as well, who,
subtle.
If Ron Holland has some of the same struggles that he had, where he goes in the NBA and he can't shoot. And we don't know what the Pistons are going to do with the rest of their offseason, but if they don't do enough to augment their shooting, who are going to put the blame at Cade Cunningham's feet? And I want to cut that off before it even gets started. That's the type of stuff that I don't want to hear. Like Cade Cunningham couldn't make these guys better three-point shooters. That's absolutely ridiculous. But it's coming. It's coming if it doesn't work out, and you guys all know that it is. And I don't want that narrative to permeate anything.
Good job, Sam.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. I do wonder, obviously Ron Holland is a G League player entering the NBA, whereas Jeremy Grant was already in the NBA, but we did hear a lot of disdain for Jeremy Grant, a player who was still in development, still getting used to his role. And when he left Detroit, we saw him do what a lot of people said he couldn't do. When he left Detroit, he actually did in Detroit what a lot of people said he didn't do in Detroit. The man shot 36-37% with Detroit from three. And when he got to Portland, that actually went up to about 40% from behind the arc.
Mm-hmm.
His assists and playmaking efficiency numbers went up as the year went along as well. And that's what we saw kind of, and it's sad, but it's the best stretch in Pistons basketball during the Weaver era, that 10 and 14 stretch post All-Star break with Jeremy Grant, Cade Cunningham, Sadiq Bey was hooping too.
He was.
I can't forget, and Kelly Olynyk was contributing.
Yes, and that's the thing. And I had this conversation with Stick when I was on Big D Energy.
Yeah.
I think with Jeremy Grant, and I will fully admit it, because his time with the Pistons was really the first time he got to be kind of the man on a team. I didn't really know what we had until he was gone. I was critical sometimes of Jeremy Grant. But you have to remember, too, in Cade's rookie year, when you said they had that 10 and 14 stretch, and Cade could have easily won Rookie of the Year. Jeremy Grant also missed 35 games that year. Imagine if he would have played a full season. That might have been a 30-win team. And I'm not saying that's anything to write home about or anything, but that would have been very, very impressive if it would have happened. Hey, and it would have been the best Pistons, some of the best Pistons basketball. It is some of the best Pistons basketball we've seen in like 6-7 years, which is kind of sad in its own right. But hey, Jeremy Grant, shout out to him. He left and proved a lot of us wrong, myself included.
Shout out to JB leaving as well.
Shout out to JB
doing his thing.
Shout out to everybody as well who has contributed to making this draft stream go on, man, making this thing possible. Everybody who kind of stuck around, the social team. Shout out to Noah and Ryan as well, who worked on a bunch of the graphics and things. Broder, KG, JB Smooth, that dude Justin, Travis and Kyle in the building. Joel stuck around as well.
Mm-hmm.
And up here on the desk, Flannel Sam, Chris Platty, and your boy Brandon, a.k.a. Detroit Kool-Aid, man.
Yes, sir.
Easy Spinny, everybody, man. Even Nick, who was here for a little bit, man. Shout out to everybody in Stick, Woodward Sports. Thank you guys, man, for making all this stuff possible.
Yeah. We have another caller if you want to take him. Charles McClain out of the chat.
Charles, Chucky.
What's up, Charles? You on?
Hey, thank y'all. Good evening, y'all. I hope y'all can hear me. I got my earpiece in. I just left office, so I'm driving. I'm driving down the road. But listen, okay.
Hold on,
I really like the Ron Holland pick. Okay, I mean defense. But I coached football, and I was always on the defensive side of the ball. But now my question, well, it ain't really a question, but I know Sam Flannel's team's picking here in the next two, his favorite team out there out west. Could you? I can see Isaiah Stewart going to the Los Angeles Lakers.
Alongside LeBron James.
LeBron James.
I'm sure he earned LeBron James's respect, man.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But no. I mean, I really think that either Isaiah Stewart or Jaden Ivey, I think one of them two are going to be traded. I do not think the Pistons are done trading, are done picking at all in this draft. If Connect keeps falling and falling, I think Trajan Langdon really likes Connect, but I think he wants to wait. You have to talk. The farther down you go, it's going to cost Connect some money. But now I do live in the South, and I followed the SEC basketball, and I'll tell you what, Dalton Connect with Kate Cunningham and Ron Holland, I would take that as a good start. You all have a good night, and I'll be listening. You all have a good night now.
Hey, thank you, Charles, for calling. Thank you, Charles, for the support. As always, man, it's been cool to get some callers in here and to get people's reactions to what the Pistons are doing right now. It's been, and in the chat as well, it's really been a mixed reaction. Some people were like, hey, you guys don't know what you're talking about. You guys in your reaction, you're going to eat this later, Paul. I mean, but the reaction wasn't because people don't believe in Ron Holland as a player. It's really because of the situation. That everything that we thought could be possible. But as this thing has played itself out, the draft has not actually been what the rumors stated it would be. Even the one trade we saw, it wasn't for what we thought it would have taken to get a Rob Dillingham of a player. So maybe the NBA actually values a lot of these players a lot differently than a lot of the talking heads, a lot of the scouts, a lot of the national media, and even local media out there. Because we already see right now, even some of the picks that are coming in right now at the tail end of the lottery, it's like, these are lottery picks.
Right.
You know, and there are players falling down the draft.
15th pick is in, by the way.
Yeah.
15th pick is in.
Khalil Ware.
Wow, still no Dalton Connect.
Yeah.
Wow.
So is he falling now?
Wow.
Philly and LA, those are two contenders. I don't expect either of them to pass up on a guy like that. Maybe Philly, just because they're very conscious of their cap space right now. I don't know if they plan on keeping this draft pick or what they plan on doing. But the Lakers, I mean, that's a hand and glove fit. A guy like Dalton Connect playing with Anthony Davis and LeBron.
Please don't let him go there. Please don't let him go there.
You know what? I really like that. And can I just quickly shout out, I just got word from my friend. I want to congratulate him. My friend Ben is now officially an uncle. His sister just gave birth. His sister just gave birth. Congratulations. Welcome to the family. Ben, you're gonna be a hell of an uncle, and man, I can't wait to see that little guy.
Boy or girl?
Boy.
Name him Holland.
You're Minnesota's 2031 draft pick that they just traded to San Antonio. Just was born yesterday.
Yeah, and you know what? Thank you guys for being here. Chat family, as always, you guys are the most important part of this entire Woodward Sports thing. Going ahead and smash that like button, satisfy that like button, do something good to that like button. Let's run these likes up,
like
real,
button,
man. We're out here. We're trying to make sure that we are keeping
like
you
button.
guys engaged as well. And we're going to have to think of some way that we can do.
Okay.
There we go.
Hey, I don't know how to put it behind. I don't know how to put it behind it.
You know what? It don't even
That was
matter,
cool.
dog. It was dope.
That was good.
Get
That
the
was
likes
good,
up, man.
Hey, Chris Platty finally got to experience it.
Hey, and look, Dakota Mullet said merch. We got to think of some way that we're going to give out this merch, brother.
Yeah. No, and can I just shout out, because I'm gonna nerd out for a second. But first,
I thought I figured it out. My bad. I'm not gonna try again.
But first,
try again. This is time to practice.
Right.
All right. I'll try again.
Just play it. You know what? With the black screen, we'll just
overlay that thing, man.
Yeah,
you got to overlay on that thing.
No, I'm
some overlay on that thing.
I'm a big
I can't even find
Khalil Ware
overlay.
guy, for the record. Like, oddly enough, I'm a big Khalil Ware guy.
Hey, just hit that like button. Hit that like button.
Please, Ron Holland.
Just go on ahead and satisfy it.
I see you over there,
Come on,
Ron.
man.
Damn.
Oh, man.
Come on, man.
Can't
satisfy
shoot.
that like button.
Damn.
Y'all gonna have to go ahead and hit that.
That's beautiful.
The vocals get me every time, Kool-Aid.
Listen, man, it's summer. It's R&B time. It's R&B time.
I can't bring my girl around here. She about to be getting serenaded by Kool-Aid.
I'm telling you,
Hey, with Smooth operator over here in the sound booth, throwing the ad-libs.
Don't let her do you wrong.
Jodeci is some red wine. That's free game for y'all.
Yeah, man.
Let's go,
You gotta watch
man.
the ball head ones, man.
Nah, man, don't be surprised if Khalil Ware is a better pro than Donovan Clingan and Zach Edey. Let me just say that. I'll just say that.
Wow.
Like oddly enough, and Broder, you might appreciate this, you might not agree. In terms of Big Ten basketball, Indiana's always my B team, and I was a big Khalil Ware guy, and it was so disappointing that they weren't better. Because if Michigan was gonna be so terrible, at least I hoped Indiana would do something. Unfortunately, they did not. But Khalil Ware showed out, and he's going to the Miami Heat. So good luck to you, young man.
Christian Wood potential there. Is that kind of how you see him?
It's such a Miami Heat type of thing, man.
Yeah.
Like
He's a little bit more of like a post. He's 7 feet.
Yeah.
He shoots the three well, but on a low volume. I think he's a bit of a better rebounder. And Christian Wood, it's hard for me to compare like a top 15 pick to somebody who ended up being undrafted. He probably shouldn't have been, but we all remember.
Just the player that he is now. Just the player that Christian Wood is now and has flashed at points.
That's not a bad call.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, I see.
Man, Dalton Connect, still the best player available on the board.
Been the best player available.
This is going to be interesting to see where he falls, where he lands.
Man, look at that. Back to back great fits.
Oh, I
Philly,
already did.
It works.
Yeah.
Los Angeles, it works. Orlando, how bad do they need a shooting guard?
You know what? There's going to be a
They want to pay
team
Klay Thompson $90 million.
I wonder.
Might just get Dalton Connect for the free ski.
I wonder how Dalton Connect fits on a team like Orlando.
Huh?
One of those young players who can kind of step in and be one of those kind of sharp shooters for them.
And has the defense
and just
around
kind of play a role, has the defense around him. There's some interesting fits for some of these guys. This draft is turning out into something else.
I'll take that one because I'm so glad you mentioned Dalton Connect in Orlando, and it would not be good for the rest of the East.
Yes,
Dalton Connect in Orlando.
Sheesh.
Orlando fans should be throwing a party because remember that stat that I gave you about the top 18 three-point shooting teams in the NBA all either making the playoffs or the play-in? One of the two that wasn't one of the top 18 three-point shooting teams that did make the playoffs or the play-in was the Orlando Magic. We love Paolo. We love Franz. They leave a little bit to be desired shooting the three. So Dalton Connect on that team. It's one of those, and I get it. I don't want Orlando to be good, but if I'm an Orlando Magic fan, that's like one of those dream fits that you couldn't script given where they're drafting.
I've looked at Orlando's roster a lot over the last year, and honestly over the last 2 or 3 years, because they've been one of those rebuilds we've compared to the Pistons, similarly to the Houston Rockets. But we saw both of their kind of both of their rebuilds leave the Pistons in the dust.
Yep.
You know, and when I look at what the Orlando Magic have done, I really feel like Dalton Connect would fit well with their young roster, and still kind of be one of those guys. He's 23. He kind of already has his man weight. We talked about that earlier. Yep. And he brings a discernible skill, discernible talent to put around Apollo Banchero and around Franz Wagner. The way Franz can get into the paint and opens things up for shooters, it is very similar to what Kay Cunningham does as well. And he's a natural playmaker. Paulo Banchero, the same thing. Every time this guy takes a dive towards the rim, the entire defense has to look his way. You add a shooter around him. I like where things go for Orlando, who's looking to take a step forward. They still, in my opinion, need some more vet help on that squad to kind of solidify them for the playoffs. But in the regular season, I do believe that Dalton Connect would be a really, really good fit for them.
They'd be a top 4 seed next year, and I'm dead serious, and that's not crazy, by the way. They'd be a top. They'd probably be 4, but still, if they got Dalton Connect, in my opinion. But we'll see how it plays out.
But they have Joe Ingles.
He can shoot. He can shoot the F out of the three ball. Though. I'll just say that he can.
They have such a weird roster. Like I like a lot of their players, but they don't. They got to move on from some of these guys, right?
Jared McCain is the pick at 16 to the Philadelphia 76ers.
The Sixers?
Okay. Dalton continues to fall. At this point, isn't it?
Dalton Connect.
People are bored with the sure thing. I get it. You want spice in your life. I
is
get
it the Lakers?
I'm going to be sick for this.
Is it the Lakers?
I
they
think
already have Austin Reeves.
It's got to be the Lakers or Orlando.
If the Pistons don't win it, you know what result I'd like the second best. I'm just saying. Everyone's gonna say what they're gonna say, but
is he now at this point in time the steal of the draft? Just based on kind of the mocks and where everybody had player ranking.
Yes, and honestly, if you're the Lakers, it would be all of the stuff that they say about Rob Pelinka in Genie Bus would be absolutely confirmed if they don't take Dalton Connect. They took Jalen Hood-Schifino last year. Make up for that. And Jalen Hood-Schifino was terrible. Make up for that and take Dalton Connect.
JJ Redick's going to look at baby him right there, Dalton Connect, and he's just going to go. Yeah. I like that.
Oh, yeah, and by the way, Jared McCain to the 76ers, I think that's a good pick.
Yeah.
I do.
So do we have to have the conversation?
About what? Trading back in?
No, about Bronny.
No, we haven't talked about that.
No, we have to, right? Or at least bring it up.
Bronny,
Yeah.
man. That is an interesting one.
know.
Obviously, Rod wigged out earlier when Flannel asked him, like, is there anything that can make you kind of flip the desk angry with the Pistons pick? And JB Smooth, shout out to the MVP, said Bronny. He was like, you know what? Actually, yeah, that would make me absolutely flip the desk. He said even if they take him in the second round, he's still like, huh? Bronny James.
Yeah.
I feel like it's such a gimmick. He wasn't on anybody's
It's
draft
propaganda,
board, man.
It's propaganda. It is what it is.
And is LeBron, we've talked about this, we've joked about it, we've laughed about it, we've pontificated about it. Is LeBron James really coming to Detroit if Bronny James comes here? I think that's a situation where it's like, you know what, son? It's time for you to grow up, buddy.
You know what? You don't need to live in my shell. You need to learn to be your own man. I didn't go to college. I want a better life for my boy. I'm giving you. This is your college right here
What
in
better
Detroit.
place than Detroit, right?
Yeah,
LeBron,
no.
like, you know, son, this was my path too. You know, when I was in high school, I would come here and watch the going to work Pistons before I hit the league. Now it's your turn to be in Detroit. I won't be there with you, son.
I say I didn't even mean it for the Pistons. I mean, like, for the Lakers at 17.
Yeah.
Like, would they? Is this actually something that might happen? It shouldn't. It shouldn't.
They got LeBron's coach, so why wouldn't they get his son?
But they can get him, I feel like, in the second round.
Yeah,
like, if you're going to
absolutely
get
they
him second round picks or pick things, you can just, the owner can buy, and it won't even like affect.
I don't know. It's crazy, dog. Ishbia, and I mean that in the best way. Like he would take Ronnie and be like, "All right, LeBron, come here for the minimum." Like,
maybe that's what we heard. At least a little bit of noise about. Hey, Phoenix
we
is
did hear that working
They're
about.
open to trading a KD.
Yeah.
And Bronny worked out for what team? LA and
Phoenix.
The Phoenix.
Wasn't there one other team too?
No
or
way
no?
in hell.
I remember those two, but I thought there was three. Maybe I'm mistaken on that part. But yeah, I mean, look, LeBron is the 31st franchise in the NBA. That's how much power he has.
Yeah.
Like, and so he's going to get his son in an advantageous situation that could in turn bring him.
What and you know what?
Dallas maybe, and there's always been LeBron and Dallas rumors.
When we look at the NBA nepotism, right? We got LeBron James and Bronny. We got Giannis and Thanos.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Thanasis is off.
Oh,
Yeah,
Thanasis is bad.
He's
Yep.
off.
We
And
got
the other
Troy
one, the third
Weaver and
one,
Troy
too.
Jr. We got Arn and all of his sons.
Yeah.
They're hooping. They're
Yeah.
balling right now. Like, if you're talking about one NBA family that's absolutely balling, for better or worse, the Tellums are actually doing their thing.
Of course.
But when I look at Giannis and Thanasis and I look at LeBron and Bronny, I'm wondering which family is carrying the other member a lot more. Like, is Bronny going to be the better player than Thanasis?
I think so. But honestly, the other son, Bryce, is going to be the better player. Bryce inherited more of the physical advantages that Bronny doesn't have. Because Bronny's not a physical freak like his dad or even his brother.
I think. Whoa.
Hey.
Whoa. Hey. Shout out the extra. Listen, I appreciate the extra FaceTime.
I didn't even know I did that.
But that was a good one. That was a good zoom in on it.
I didn't even know how I did that.
And it was just right as I started talking too. It just.
I'm gonna remember that forever.
It just came right
Hear
at
me
me.
out.
Pause.
The Pistons, what they got, the 54th pick in the second round?
Yeah.
You draft Bronny and create a bidding war. Because the Lakers are at 56, right? I'm just saying.
I mean, can you get 3 firsts for him? Like, you gotta just
start a bidding war.
You gotta do something.
Vladdy,
man.
what camera is that?
What, this one?
Yeah.
That's 4.
Camera 4. All right.
Oh, man. Start the bid war.
It's camera 4. But,
You
yeah.
know, I can see Tom Gorse now drafting Bronny and calling the Lakers like, I'll give LeBron anything that he wants.
Right.
Anything.
Yeah.
I'll even pay him to go away. Like,
Yeah.
Tom
For real.
Gorse is that guy. If there was ever a situation where you really believe that drafting a Bronny can get LeBron here, isn't it responsible to draft Bronny?
Yeah.
I mean, if you know for certain that it means LeBron James is going to be telling right behind.
You can burn a second round pick
Don't
on that.
you have to do it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Who are you asking?
Without any
desperate we
question,
are.
any hesitation, nothing.
Say his face the whole entire time is like, is it a statement? Is it a question?
Now that's how you win the NBA draft night. If you're Detroit,
Stop it.
that's how you win the NBA draft night.
Stop it, man.
What do you guys think of Terrence Shannon out of Illinois? He was caught up in the bullshit legal timeout.
17. It's exactly as we pontificated. That's going to be my word tonight. Dalton Connect is off the board.
Man.
To Sam, stop smiling.
Son of
Stop,
a
Sam.
Hey!
To the Los
Son of
Angeles
a
Lakers,
bitch.
man.
Let's go.
God.
Hey,
So Brian
hey.
gets his way.
Hey, but they drafted Jalen and Shafino last year. Come on. Hey,
Goodness.
I'll just say this. There is a snowball's chance in hell that the Detroit Pistons win the NBA title this year. We all agree with that, right?
So
right?
let Dalton Connect shine.
So I can want the Lakers to win it.
I guess.
And that's okay.
I guess.
I'm not going to root for the Lakers when they play the Pistons head-to-head, but I am going to root for them in every other game. And you guys already know that. You guys already think I'm a Laker fan. I'm not.
Man.
But that was the pick. That is a steal, I believe, for the Los Angeles Lakers. I think giving LeBron a player, LeBron works really, really well with shooters. And last season, one of the things that did them in was the fact that Cam Reddish played so many minutes and was horrible, and Taurean Prince was horrible as well. Give him someone who actually can shoot out there. I think he's the perfect role player for LeBron James personally and Dalton Connect.
Shout out Broder too, because he talked about the Dalton Connect fit right there, and
JJ Redick.
Yeah, JJ Redick.
He's got to be so happy right now.
Yeah, you gotta love that. You brought up the Mike Miller comp too, so credit to Broder for that one.
It's a good fit. His new coach gets a player. Actually, what I was gonna say, how excited is Dalton Connect right now? Like, he goes to a really good situation for him, and he's an adult. He's 23 years old. Like,
that's
a
what
good one.
Rents is saying. He's a role player. Period. He's gonna be great for LA, but he's only ever a role player.
That's fine.
But that's what we need right now.
Yeah.
Fine.
If I have a guy that's an absolute flamethrower like Debo, Duncan Robinson, he's a role player.
Mm-hmm.
I would add him to this Pistons team right now and he'd make them
Immediately.
instantly better than they were last
and
season.
he's way better than Duncan Robinson.
I agree.
Well, and coming into the
I agree.
league when LeBron is kind of on his last legs. Most players, when they're first come into the league, they're not finished products. They're not what they're going to ultimately be. So if you have to spend a couple of years being that ultimate role player, being that sniper for LeBron James, that's perfect. And when LeBron retires, then Dalton Connect can maybe assume a bigger role. I think that's the perfect spot for him. And I think it will I think Dalton Connect by himself might add a couple wins next year for the Lakers. That's how confident I am in his pairing with LeBron.
So we were daydreaming of Fontecchio and Dalton Connect with Cade coming down the middle.
That'd
Now
be so nice.
LeBron's got AD, Austin Reeves, and Dalton Connect.
Yep.
And
we were
D'Angelo
wondering-
Russell.
People were wondering why is Dalton Connect dropping. Listen, if LeBron James can get his son in the NBA, I think he can get Dalton Connect to the Lakers.
Yeah.
This is something else. He failed down the draft boards. At least, I guess, 3 or 4 picks outside the lottery. So it's not too bad.
Yeah.
The lowest that I had seen him on the draft board prior was 14 on the mock draft. I think I had seen one that might have had him 15 today. So it's not completely off. I do wonder what was the decision making that goes into why he failed, but it seemed like a lot of high potential guys that you would probably view as having a higher ceiling went before Dalton Connect. And for the Lakers, this is just, to me, one of the most sensible picks to make right now.
It's one of the cleanest picks in the draft. It makes a lot of sense. To go back to the Pistons, though, we see, and you brought it up, you made the great point of that forward room getting pretty log jammed. That front court, if you add Isaiah Stewart and Duren into the mix.
Yeah.
So the obvious need, in my opinion, would seem to be guard as we now enter day 2 of the draft, because we will be there's the draft tomorrow for the second round, and maybe some trades happen there, but I feel like most of the fireworks probably would have happened in the first round. bigger trades across the league. But that being said, as we turn now to the second part of the draft and free agency, what are you identifying? Maybe not even player, but personnel type. Are you looking at for Detroit? Are you looking at getting experienced guards to pair with Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey? Are you looking for a big to kind of fortify that defense? What is your biggest importance? Because we've been linked to Brandon Ingram and all sorts of characters, but a lot of them being forwards, and that forward room is looking pretty large, James. So I don't know about Tobias or Brandon Ingram right now.
I'm still actually not off the Tobias or the Brandon Ingram kind of bandwagon, because you still need shooting from that position, and they haven't really addressed that. The only shooter they have, and they have to make sure they get him under contract again, from that position or from that group, the wing, the 3-4 group, it's Simone Fontecchio.
Right.
So I'm not against them doing that. I believe that they've given themselves options now. So if one of these young players that are on that wing get wound up in a trade, like an Asar Thompson or somebody else, I'm not asking for that. But if it happens, they've provided themselves some insurance. But for me personally, I'm still looking at several things here, man. They still need a 3-and-D wing. They still don't have that. I do believe that they need, if they're not rocking with Jaden Ivey, you're going to have to get a 2-guard in here. But for me personally, when you're talking about adding to kind of the backcourt, and I include some of your more versatile wings as well in that, I do wonder, what does it look like if you put an experienced point guard next to Cade Cunningham? Drop that usage a little bit. See if it gives them a little bit of effect that you saw it have with Devin Booker or Chris Paul. And obviously, Chris Paul is an amazing point guard. You can't just go and take any point guard and have that type of effect on your team. But I do wonder sometimes what it means to take the ball out of Cade's hands just a little bit, drop their usage a little bit, play him at his more efficiently shooting position, which is kind of off ball as well. And you pair that with some stretch shooting from the 4 position. I actually think that is what they need to be able to attack as they go into free agency. But just absolute gunner that you can put next to Cade, or either a point guard that you know can run the show and put Cade in the position to score a little bit more, or probably look at that stretch wing player that can play a little bit of that 3 and the 4.
What about you, Paul? I think it's going to be shooting, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking kind of at the free agents right now, and it's not, when it comes to experienced point guard, it's like, I mean, Markelle Fultz, and I'm not saying Markelle Fultz,
out there.
Like Tyus Jones, try Monty Morris, and yeah, I don't fault you for saying that. I'm just kind of looking at what's realistic.
Chris Paul, maybe if the Warriors are looking to save a lot of money on their tax.
Yeah.
Maybe you offer them Isaiah Stewart, they give you Chris Paul and some draft compensation, that type of thing. I think you look to the trade market. I think the free agency room already wasn't impressive, and Detroit has shown an ability to not get the top free agents. 2 of their top free agents are off the board, and free agency hasn't even kind of started. I think that's a sign that Detroit needs to look at trade.
If you're looking for somebody who maybe you can overpay, who's gotten their rings already, maybe do a retread on KCP. I'm not saying that would be like the end all be all, or that would be the end of their off season, but that's probably what, if there was any free agent, it would be somebody like that, or Gary Trent, or I don't even know who else is available at this point. Those are kind of the main ones. Tobias Harris, I don't hate as much as some. You obviously, a trade for Brandon Ingram or Zach LaVine would be nice, but they already made the pick. That's the one thing where I'm like, is that possible anymore? I don't know. The big jump in wins that a lot of us might have hoped for, I don't know is necessarily going to happen anymore. They may be trying to build this team the right way. And when I'm talking about big jump, I mean next year. This may be more of a long-term thing, given what's available in free agency and the fact that they, I believe, took one of their best trade chips and made the pick already.
Hey, Flatty, I got something to add. Actually, I don't know why. You brought it up.
Before you do that, brother, I have Neil.
Let's do that. Do Neil first.
So let me get Neil.
Okay.
Yeah.
On Neil first. I was just doing a little something extra to take care of Neil. Neil Rule's joining the show.
Let's rock, man. This would be perfect because I was going to wrap it up soon, but to be able to have Neil on right now, that's even better. I want to be able to get his take.
He wanted to talk about Terrence Shannon, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, what up, though?
Was really good.
Hey, it's the golden voice, Neil Rule, man. What up, though, bro?
How you guys living? Hey, anything happen tonight? What's everybody talking about?
Yeah, things have most certainly happened.
Yeah.
The Ron Holland pick is polarizing, I will say, amongst the room and amongst the chat, and that is putting it mildly.
Yeah.
Yes.
For situation, is it the right fit? Could they have traded back and gotten Ron Holland? There's not a lot of people who say that they don't like Ron Holland, the player, but they just wonder what's the strategy here. Now you have Asar Thompson and Ron Holland, similar style players. Ron Holland with a little bit better offense. Both of those guys' defense. Neither one of them can shoot from behind the arc, but Ron Holland does give a lot to like. Athletic, can get to the rim, can finish at the rim well, is a volume scorer, gets you 3.3 stocks, which is steals plus blocks per game from the small forward position, from your wing position, and he has some upside. He has a little bit of a ceiling, but it's not necessarily the fit that I was looking for. I was hoping for more of a guy like a Dalton Connect, who we saw slide all the way down to 17 to the Los Angeles Lakers, and so yeah, it's been polarizing. Very, very polarizing with Ron Holland because it wasn't at all what I don't think anybody expected that to be the selection.
No, and remember, too, when this season started, Ron Holland was like the unanimous number 1 pick. Remember that? Like, that it wasn't that long ago. But anyway, I'll say this. In Flannel, Dalton Connect, huh? Gonna bring the Lakers back to an NBA.
Hey, if you think... Hey,
dude, Flannel.
Oh, stop it.
Let's go.
Stop it. Nobody wanted Dalton Connect. Nobody wanted Dalton Connect. And you know why? And the Lakers will find this out. Certainly when they get in a big spot, Flannel, he will be hunted defensive. This is a no mercy league. When he steps on the floor, he will be hunted. Whatever it takes to get him matched up, they will do. That's the way that this league works. So it's just like the Ron Holland thing. I just want to know, because I saw somebody in the chat earlier, and I forget what the name was on it, but said, the Pistons can't make any deals. They couldn't take what deal was made? Like, that's the question that I have for everybody. Like, okay, so not Ron Holland. Okay, cool. Who? Dalton Connect, the guy that went pick number 60? Like, come on, man.
Okay, it wasn't pick number 60. Thank you for exaggerating. It was 17. And first of all, I would have rather had Dalton Connect or Cody Williams personally. And here's the thing. And I know that it's just projection. It's what he did in the G League. And I think you're underrating Dalton Connect's defense just a tad. I'm not saying he's great. I would rather have somebody who's hunted defensively in certain situations, even though with the Lakers, he's going to have AD and Vando, who are good defenders, than somebody who, by their numbers in the G League, is going to shoot 2 for 8 from 3 or 1 for 4. And that's fair. That's fair.
No, hey, Flannel. There was, like, again, though, what was the move then? Okay, Dalton Connect got picked in the teens, bro. So, okay, so then what's the move? And, like they didn't make any deals. Who made deals? There were no deals to make. It's funny because in one vein, everybody's like, well, this draft stinks. And then when no moves are made, they're like, well, the Pistons can't make moves. So who you making moves for if you don't want anybody?
Hey,
you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm looking for some consistency from people. That's all.
Okay, for the record, I gave you other options I would have taken. I gave you Cody Williams as well. I would have taken Cody Williams or Dalton Connect over Ron Holland personally. So those are the other moves that they could have made that I would have been more okay with. That would have been to me, and we're gonna see. That's the beauty of the draft. Those would have been, to me, okay moves that I would have came in tomorrow and been like, all right. And for the record, Neil, and I'm going to mention this on the show tomorrow as well, I beg of Ron Holland to make me look like the biggest idiot alive. Trust me, I would love for that to happen.
I do that on a daily basis.
Hey, right back at you, Neil. Right back at you. It's back and forth.
One of the
yin and
greatest
yang.
rivalries on earth, man. When these matchups happen with Flannel and Neil, it is absolute entertainment and electric. I'm so glad Neil called in.
Yes. As always.
I had to. Oh, real quick too. I know Terrence Shannon hasn't been taken yet, right?
Right.
Okay. I'll give you this perspective on Terrence Shannon. And look, like, the second, you guys know how I roll with this. I'm not a judge, and I'm not the law. So the second charges are dropped, I don't care anymore. That's the way that I work. And I've always been like that, and I'll always be like, this is professional sports, man. This isn't the professional morality league. But with all that being said, with Terrence Shannon, I'll give you guys this. Why I'm big on him is to this day Jack Golke, America's hero, the man you detest, Sam Flannel. Jack Golke.
He was on our show together. No, come on.
who single-handedly brought down Kentucky. All these picks that we saw.
He did.
All these picks that we saw, all these Kentucky guys for guys that went 1 for 5 in the NCAA tournament, I won't get, but that's something we'll get into tomorrow. But with all that being said, we played at Illinois this year, and he clamped Jack Golke. And we got on the bus after the game, and Golke told me, Neil, I have never been defended like that in my life, and may never be defended like that again. And I'll tell you this, Flannel, the side shoot of that, with what I do like about the Ron Holland thing, and what you say about 3-point shooting and stuff like that is valid, but you know what he is? A dog, and we need that, Flannel. The Pistons need somebody that is a dog, and he's a dog. Is he the prettiest? No, he's not the prettiest, but there is a baseline that that his game to me screams that he will do what's necessary. And Flannel, as we talked about this on Big D Energy today, as a matter of fact. This had all the fingerprints of Trajan Langdon on it. How did he roll? What are the kind of guys that his organizations take in the draft? It's not a guy that's all one thing and nothing of the next. Dalton Connect was never in play, because that's not how Trajan Langdon rolls. He's going to take guys that are more complete players. And, we'll see about the god Dalton Connect and his efforts to single-handedly bring the Lakers back to glory immediately when he steps on the floor. But, yeah, Flannel, we'll be at it again tomorrow. Big D Energy from 11 to 1. Tap
Let's
in.
go.
It should be great. It'll be glorious. But, again, for me, just kind of wrapping this thing up and let you guys go get on your way, the thing to me is, you know what I like about this? And I haven't heard anybody say this, Kool-Aid, and maybe I missed it. Maybe you brought this up. For the questions about, is it Trajan Langdon's job? Is it him making the calls? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Because that was on brand for him. And for me, that's enough.
Yeah, that's what we discussed earlier, is that when listening to his comments at the press conference, you were there too, Neil. Shout out to you. This is exactly the type of player that he said he wanted to add to the Detroit Pistons, whether it be free agency or draft. Rod Holland actually fits the description of what Trajan Langdon was saying is the DNA of the players that he wants on this squad. And that's something that we talked about a little bit earlier. It's like, maybe this guy fits a little bit more, because when you look at the squad, obviously there are no Trajan Langdon players. The only Trajan Langdon player we have right now is Ron Holland. He didn't put this current roster together, though there's some promising pieces here on this roster. That's the reason why you take this job if you're a Trajan Langdon. But you want this thing to be molded into your image. And I think that this pick is Trajan Langdon doing that. If we want to be fair to it, yes, Ron Holland was one of those players that was mocked to be the best player in this draft. And then you got a bunch of kind of high potential players that shot up the draft board above him. So it's like, there is stuff to like here. It's about if you trust and believe in your strength and development coaches, your shooting coaches, and that kind of everybody else that you're bringing in to help this team take this next step forward, and that you can continue to mold this team into your image. And if there are players currently on the squad that don't fit that, I'm hoping that they can actually have that turnover happen sooner rather than later, so we can get the Trajan's vision a little bit faster rather than later.
And for me, I'll leave you guys with this. Give me Ben Simmons, and I'll ask for 3 of those first they just got, but I'll take 2. We on board with that? Come on, Flannel. Let's get it going here.
You saying Ben Simmons and 3 firsts coming to the Pistons?
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, we're looking at like an 18-win team next year.
I mean, it is, man, 3 first-round picks.
Give me three. Hey, they got a lot to play with, man. You want out from $40 million unscathed? You don't have to eat any of it? Then, hey, we're your guy. Hey, the Knicks. Hey, Julius Randle, we'll take him. Give us that pick back. Come on.
Yes, 100%. 100%. 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
Huh?
Yep.
Definitely.
Because, hey, they just spent some coin today, man. They're going to need all the cap space that they can need. And, I think that's where the book isn't written. Like, tonight is not Trajan Langdon's novel has not been written tonight. I would argue the biggest steps are yet to come.
Hey, and Neil, I'll leave you on this. how could you want someone in Terrence Shannon who was picked below that bum Dalton Connect? I'm just saying.
Because I would say this.
I win.
He is more elite. He is more elite of a defender than Dalton Connect is as an offensive player.
A bunch of teams don't want Terrence Shannon. I'm just saying. Hey, you got to give me this one. You got to give me this one for now until it plays out. You got to give me this one. Terrence Shannon is picked.
Clearly, the Lakers don't need him. They got the god Anthony Davis, man, with them jorts and that sweater that he wears when he's not playing 25 games a year. They don't need defense. They got the goat AD, Anthony Davis. Data Davis, when he gets put in the Hall of Fame, his display will be available on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And then the next week, it'll be Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays.
Neil, I am going to knock on your door the day that Anthony Davis gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. After I induct him, after I'm the one who does that. And I'm just going to...
I'll only answer the door when you knock on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, like when AD plays.
That's the best part, though, is I'm going to be right because that's not a thing. And you can look at me through your door cam, and I'll just be like, ha!
Yeah, I know. And look, they'll make it his little bust, his little statue in there will only be visible, for 50 out of 82 games. 50 out of 82 days per year. That's when AD will be out there.
It's not a thing. I win this one. I'm not going to get worked up because that's not a thing. I am going to be right because everybody with a brain knows that Anthony Davis will be in the Hall of Fame. And Terrence Shannon is picked below Dalton Connect.
And Dalton Connect, too. Dalton Connect will get inducted into the Hall of Fame while he's still playing.
Hey, he'll always be picked above your boyfriend, Terrence Shannon. I'll just say that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Boyfriend, Terrence Shannon. All right. All right, Flannel. Just make sure you get your rest for 11 to 1 Big D Energy tomorrow.
Yes, sir. You as well.
There's nowhere to hide.
Yep.
Hey, thanks, you guys. You guys knocked this out of the park tonight. Appreciate everybody on Woodward that was tapping in. I saw, viewership was piling up and everything like that.
Yes, sir.
So you guys, shout out to everybody there in the chat and everything like that. You guys make Woodward go. Appreciate you. See you tomorrow. Rest up, Flannel.
Well said, man. That's the golden voice, Neil Rule. Thank you, brother, for giving us your time. Hey, you guys already know one of those voices of the Detroit Pistons as well. Yep. What is just the golden voice, man? You can find him kind of voicing everything from soccer to basketball to right here on the Woodward Sports Network as well. And you know what? I feel like we're talked out. I know we got the second round tomorrow that starts at 4 o'clock. The rest of this draft, it's been not much of what I expected.
Nah.
It really, I'm looking like, okay, that's the selection.
Yep. And for the record, I know me and Neil talk a lot of shit to each other, but I got a lot of love for Mark Champion, but every time Neil has called a game on the radio, I always make sure to tune in. He's one of the best play-by-play men I've ever heard. And that's just me showing respect to someone I work with, somebody who we've had a lot of battles on air, but we're good friends off the air. Yeah. Just so you guys know.
It's cool because I trust having conversations, debates, and things of that nature with the people at Woodward Sports because at the precipice, it's always respect, man. And so you get to be able to kind of have these times we're able to go and just give the people the show. So definitely you guys want to be tapped into Big D Energy tomorrow. As I always say, you guys want to be tapped into all the shows. Big D Energy tomorrow from 11 to 1. You got Ermanni and Edwards with Mass from 2 to 4. And you got the heavyweights, man, the big fellas. Spin More Racks, Easy, Nick Koloff, our guy Chris Platty in the building as well from 5 to 7. And I'm hoping you guys choose to kick off the day with the Woo Crew in the morning, the Wake Up Woodward Crew from 8 to 10 a.m. as well.
9.5 hours.
Yeah, we're going to see you soon. That's why I was looking at the time. I'm like, you know what? We went a little longer than we thought we were going to go. But it was worth it, man, to be able to engage with you all. We got to do something for the chat, man. We're going to have to pick somebody that's going to be able to get some merch so I can make sure Travis gets his information right away and we can get this thing started.
I'm throwing it. It's not a tribute question or anything, but Matt Kruger might get started.
Yep. You know what? That might be the best way to do it, man.
He was first calling, too.
Yep. You can pick a random comment, too?
I think it's got to be Matthew Kruger.
Let's do Kruger for call of the day, but also pick a random one, too. We'll do 2 giveaways. We got a lot of people in here tonight, man. It was a lot of support. I want to make sure that we can say what up because we were already going to do a giveaway from Wake Up Woodward. We'll kind of just do a couple here now. So Matthew Kruger, call it a night, man. And he definitely supports us all here at Woodward Sports. So definitely glad to be able to see him get something. And let me know when you get that random Charles McClain.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go. Let's go.
He's the Ron Holland
Yeah.
supporter. Calming us all down. Let him know.
Yeah, no, that's a good combo. We got somebody who was a little more level-headed than even myself about Ron Holland, and then we got Matthew Kruger, who, for the record, Zach Edey took Purdue to the finals while averaging 30 and 15 in the tournament, and there were still people who acted like he was a man who wasn't even worthy of being drafted, period. But Matthew Kruger was bullish, and I don't think he should have been drafted as high as he was. And I don't necessarily think he's going to be good in the NBA. But the point is that Matthew Kruger already won round one in like convincing fashion.
Yeah.
Like nuts in the face, dunked on all of us. He did.
I'd like to throw something out there. Nick first texting in our group chat. A very Gen Z thing that Jaden Ivey just did. He just deleted all his Instagram posts on Instagram.
Well, we gotta wait because I remember people tried to make a big deal about this before. It's something that I think Jaden Ivey just does. This was not his first time doing that, and he wound up the last time he did this, and people speculated, wound up still being a Detroit Pistons. So it is something to point out. I just saw that as well, but definitely want to make sure we preface that it is something we've seen him do before.
Yeah.
So
If it is something you've seen somebody do before, I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna talk a little while I find it. Because we had Detroit got a nod from this is a really smart human team.
Oh, I have that in Slack. I could.
Just throw that up.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know,
1 second. Let me grab that.
all good. If you want to wrap this up, we'll throw it up.
No, I mean, it's been a night. While he's getting that together, we'll definitely start to wrap this thing up. It's been a night. Like I said, it's not the pick that I think anybody was hoping for. Whether you were a Dalton Connect guy or Cody Williams guy, wanted to be able to take a flyer on Miles Bazelis or hope that somebody would fall. Maybe a Donovan Clingan. I know there were Stephen Castle fans. It winds up being Ron Holland, who was, to be fair, one of the former number one overall picks or mocked to be that at one point in time. He does bring a lot to the table. It's just a matter of that fit around Cade as a shooter or not, and if that can be fixed.
Yep, and as I've said, and I'll say it tomorrow and Friday as well, I hope that I get clowned for the rest of eternity because I was so wrong about Ron Holland. It's just I feel like I've seen this movie before, and when you do this for a living, sometimes you have knee-jerk reactions. And for the record, if Ron Holland isn't good, I'm not going to victory lap or anything like that. I just want to let it all play out. I just had a reaction in the moment, and I still personally do not agree with the pick. That's all.
And shout out to Tactile Puma. He says, is Woodward doing the show for the NHL draft? And I know this is something we've been trying to get going for a couple years now. I don't know. That dude Justin Sam. If
I asked. I didn't get a response.
All right, stay tuned on that. Stay tuned on that, you guys, because I know Stick at least told me today to prepare some things for that, graphics wise and social wise. So we may or may not have that. I know that we got definitely the right types of people here that have the expertise to keep their head and their nose in all of the business NHL, especially the Red Wings. You're going to be in good hands if they do something like this. If Spinny, Sam, that dude Justin, and others here at the network who know hockey, love hockey, and can tell you exactly what the Red Wings are up to. If we do have that, stay tuned. We'll let you guys know.
All right, I got to. Oh wait.
Yep. And before you throw it up, I just want to make sure Charles McClain and Matthew Kruger. I know Matthew Kruger, you know how to get in contact with us, but we need to make sure you guys can communicate with Travis as well. So hit us up at any of our handles at Detroit Kool-Aid,
or email me
at MattBro21, or you can email Broder at Woodwardsports.com. or Kool-Aid at Woodwardsports.com. To make it easy, let's just go at Broder at Woodwardsports.com. I don't want to give out too much. So Charles McClain, Matthew Kruger, make sure you guys reach out. We'll get you in contact with Travis, who will then take the process over from there. It'll be some Woodward Pistons merch from the Woodward Sports shop. So definitely thank you guys, everybody, man, for your support of this stream tonight. Justin, you said you have that.
I just need to go down. Oh my God. Well.
We'll show it in the morning.
Yeah, we'll show it in the morning. This is I accidentally clicked on the one below it, but to give you a preview, this is this type of stuff that he was posting tonight, and then he said some stuff about Detroit. It says Adam Silver looks like a giant penis.
What? Okay. All right.
That's a good name.
God.
AB, man. We got to get out of here because I know the Wake Up Woodward crew, we're going to be right back in here in the AM.
Yep, see you in 8
I got to go home
hours.
and make graphics for the show tomorrow morning now for the back wall. And I know Justin got things to do. I know you do. I know you do. I know y'all do. It's going to be a day. I know a lot of overreactions, a lot of fighting, a lot of arguing, some agreeing. Tomorrow is going to be an interesting day because Trajan Langdon, if he wanted to make some noise around Detroit, I think he definitely did that with this draft pick tonight that a lot of people thought going in was not consequential. Trade the pick. It's not going to matter who they pick. Makes a pick in polarization across everywhere that there's Pistons conversation.
Drafts are undefeated. Neil Rule said it today on Big D Energy, and I got to give him credit for that. No matter what, it had us all on the edge of our seats.
You're exactly right. And the emotion was authentic, man.
Authentic.
Like, I can't wait to go back and look at the reaction, but let's break this thing down. You know what?
Hey,
We got a defender here. We still, let's rock, man. Hey, let's go.
He might not. He might not.
Thank you guys for choosing to spend your NBA draft time with us here at Woodward Sports. This was fun to be able to do. I'm glad that we got to get Chris Platty up here on the desk as well. Somebody that I love talking Pistons basketball with.
Yeah, shout out everybody for allowing me to be a part of this. This is dope, man, and I'm excited, man. Listen, for whatever happens, we can say we witnessed history tonight. First day of the Trajan era. So we'll see where this leads.
Let's go, man. I can't. We got this thing in the morning. We're gonna break it all down. Shout out to Travis and Kyle as well. You guys drove all the way from Toledo. You guys do a lot for our social team.
Fire up!
Yeah, you guys do a whole lot for our social team, man. I'm grateful that you guys are part of Woodward Sports, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys grow at this network as well, man. Thank you guys for being here, straight up.
Thank you for having us, man.
Hey, shout out. That Celtics jersey got to go next time, though.
Hey, I did figure out how to do the like button. So let me pull that out real quick.
Hey, whip it out real quick, man. Because the people got to satisfy that like button. While you're doing it, shout out to Matthew Broder, who kind of did a little bit of everything tonight on the show and helped to prepare as well.
Oh, I guess not. I thought you just had to click the overlay button. I finally found the overlay button.
That's all good, bro.
Yeah, we got the people in the morning. Shout out to Matthew Broder. Thank you, brother.
Look at that beautiful man in there.
Dope jersey, too, by the way. I love that jersey every time.
Yeah, that is. They should bring that back. That's hard.
Hey, you know what? Shout out to Flannel Sam as well. Really the vet of just Woodward Sports. Not just our Wake Up Woodward squad, but of Woodward Sports, period, man. Continue to lead the way, Flannel.
I appreciate that. And shout out to Chris. It sucks that the microphone died and you weren't on for the last few minutes or so, but you did a great job on the desk, getting more desk time along with Nick. And just a quick shout out, all of our shows, we've got talents in the booth. We got talents on the desk. We got JB and KG on Wake Up Woodward. We've got KG on damn near all the shows. We got Pete. Of course, we got Nick and Chris. Just an embarrassment of riches.
Shout out to everyone. Shout out to Neil for calling in. The heavyweights as well. Spinny and Nick were here right before we went live. Shout out to Easy for kind of kicking with us. KG, JB. Want to make sure everybody that supported gets shouted out. But what's good, brother? Oh, there it go. There it go. Hey, and it's your boy Brandon, a.k.a. Detroit Kool-Aid, your credentialed Detroit Pistons writer and reporter for the network. This has been fun, man. This has been awesome. Glad to be able to kind of do this NBA draft talk, this offseason kickoff for the Detroit Pistons with Woodward Sports as well as you, chat family. If you guys can, before you leave this stream, if you haven't already, go on ahead and smash that like button, man. But thank you guys for being here. This has been Woodward Sports Network. We appreciate you guys. See you bright and early in the morning at 8 a.m. with Wake Up Woodward and stay throughout the day. Let's go.
We got pretty models in a place, yeah.